Good evening, afternoon, whatever it's called, everyone. This is Taha here for Team Wars Talk number 5. Today we have a lot of guests. Luxa, Buster GG, Chris, Fake Six, Now King, Metal Overdrive, RaW, and Hideki, who will be joining shortly. First, want to take a moment to allow everyone to introduce themselves, starting from the top to the bottom. If you're looking to see who's talking at any time during this broadcast today, you can check on the left side of the screen and it'll show a green light around someone's name. We'll start with Buster GG since Luke is away at the moment. Buster, welcome. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm good, man. Thanks for adding me.
Of course, man. No problem. Chris, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing great. Fake Six, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for inviting me.
Sure thing, man. K-Ro, how are you?
Yeah, doing good. Thanks for having me today.
Metal, how are you?
What's up? I'm pretty good, and thanks for inviting me.
Sure thing. RaW, how are you doing today?
Oh, all good. Thanks for inviting me, guys.
Yes, your brother was here last week. Finally, we can get you too. All right. So that is everyone for now. As Luke and Hideki come in later onto the stream, we'll introduce them as well. We have a extremely packed show today. More guests than we've ever had. We wanted to try a little bit of a different environment today and see if you guys enjoy it. I think we're gonna have a great show today, though. But let's get started. First match report, first game of the week was Switcheroo versus Abusement Park. This was one of the matches of the week. Both teams really needed this win to gain steam in that division that has many teams that are fighting for that first and second place spot. We have the owner of Abusement Park with us today, Now King. I'm going to let you talk a little bit about this game and what your expectations were and how you feel after the fact. Karo.
Sorry, I was on mute and I did not realise.
No worries, no worries.
I'm all good. So this is our game with Switcheroo, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. It went really well. To start, we obviously they went into the week top of the league, and we managed to pull off a 10-5 win with some excellent performances. So yeah, we're really happy. It's especially big for Abusement Park to be winning games like this because for those of you that don't know, it was until this season that we actually beat a Japanese team. I think we'd lost every single match against the Japanese team before, and we're 2 for 2 this season. So that's some great improvement. I don't know necessarily what we're doing that differently. Maybe everything's worked out for us, but fingers crossed we can continue in that vein of form.
And this win was especially a statement win since there were some rumblings after the D-Draw game saying that that DC seriously, just pulled that game in your favor, but no ammo for critics for this game. This was just a complete whitewash, complete destruction from APKs and a full team performance too. Lamp with 4 wins, Buns with 3 wins, and you with 3 wins. So it wasn't just one person doing the job. It was a full team effort. On that note, Abusement Park has had its fair share of misplays and unfortunate events happening so far this season. But this game was the first game that I think many would say was just there's no execution errors that you can pinpoint from this game. How happy are you of your team overcoming those hardships and minor major errors that may have come up so far this season?
Yeah, it was nice for everything to work out. So obviously, like I assume most teams do, we're scrimming 2 or 3 times a week, and I really feel like I can't quite explain what has gone wrong this season in terms of we've made some, like you said, fairly important misplays at big times, and I feel like when we're practicing, we're as good as we've ever been. Maybe just some on the day jitters, and there's such competition for places right now. Maybe people are putting too much pressure on themselves, but you know, I really trust every single one of the 15 to do a job, myself included, I suppose. But yeah, I think that it eventually, yeah, we had some bad misplays and some silly things with luck, but eventually we're gonna iron that all out. And this was a great example of that. And I think moving forward, we've now put ourselves back in a good position. You know, we're 3-2 in a crazy league. There are 6 teams that are 3-2 or better. But if we win our next few games, then we're in a really, really powerful spot.
Yeah, well said. Another question I want to ask you. This offseason, APK made some very strong additions, one of them being Lampposted, who performed extremely well in this game. But another one of those additions was Wayne Knopf. He played 9 out of 10 games for his former team last season, but has not, had the same level of playing time on Abusement Park this season. How difficult is it to manage
22
players?
months PogChamp DLTW weird hash rip BLESSR
yeah,
NG
it's very
BLTW
difficult.
SADSIP.
Is the answer?
Thank you for the subscription, Hypebeast. Yeah, sorry, go on, Karen.
No, it's hugely, and I'm sure this is something that all team leaders and team managers will agree with. 15 players is a lot of players. It's very hard to keep people happy. And then most teams, I would suggest, have 2 players or 1 or 2 players that feature most weeks just because they are so active and so good at this game. It's very hard to tell them no. So then, there's a lot of people fighting for not many spots. And it really is just down to who we think fits right for the week, and that's going to change from week to week. And it's trying to make sure that everyone gets some game time, and we've got a strong team out every week with the right decks. So yeah, I mean, obviously some teams are better at managing that than other teams, hence why some teams end up winning the whole thing. But we're just trying to make sure everyone gets their fair share, but at the same time making sure we've got the best 5 people on the roster every week. Wayne has obviously been on the roster once where he didn't play as well, so it's not like he's not been on the roster. He closed that out against D-Draw for us. So he's made his fair share of contributions already, as we knew he would, because obviously last season's MVP and a pretty consistent Team Wars performer, and I'm sure he'll feature later as the season goes on because, well, yeah, we don't have to say how happy we were to pick up someone of his quality because it was an amazing achievement to get him.
Yeah,
playing for us.
Players of his caliber will definitely make a difference come playoffs, and hopefully Wayne will finally get to taste that feeling after however many seasons of a drought. Last thing I want to ask you about this game, of course, we want all the people that are invited today to continue and stay on till the very end and discuss the other games. But last thing I wanted to ask you about your game is, hindsight is 2020, but would there be anything different that you would do knowing that Switcheroo brought the decks that they did? For example, maybe the first game was a brick from Switcheroo's end, and maybe there was some sort of fortunate situation involved. I completely missed the game because I was asleep, so I can't really comment. But would there be anything different that you would do given what you saw from Switcheroo, or did they play exactly into your plan and your scouting?
I mean, there's always some level of variance to planning and scouting, just because teams obviously scout each other and then base their lineup based on that. So looking at last week's lineup only gives you so much information. And so one thing that's interesting about Switcheroo is that they have done very well with Cyber Dragon this season. Oh, another thing with Switcheroo is that they haven't shown many of their decks this season, so they were quite hard to predict for that reason anyway, because they've had a couple of easy wins in terms of how much they won by. But one thing we expected was Cyber Dragon, which they ended up not bringing, which was surprising considering Act has been in such strong form with it and piloted the deck very well in the KCGT. But yeah, maybe because we're a team that has historically brought Cristrons, they decided it wasn't the best, and maybe we should have seen that. But I don't want to be too critical on a 10-5 win against what was then top of the league. We're just happy to have got through the game and now be in the hunt for the rest of the season.
Well, congrats on the win, Cairo. You guys definitely making a statement and also pulling up ahead in the division. Not by much, but it'll make an effort or make a push near the end. We'll talk more about division standings near the end of this talk, but congrats again on the win, and we'll move on to the next game. All right, next game is Destiny Draw versus Divine. I guess Luxa is still not here. Let me see if he's. Oh, Luxa's in the chat. Luxa, I need you to undeafen yourself so we can chat.
If it's not too late, I would like to commentate on the APK's game.
Oh yeah, sure. Go ahead, please.
I
Take
was
the floor.
actually watching it because Buns is one of my actual friends in the community, and this man had plot armor. Like, he bricked only one game, and in that one game, he got the DC win.
Yeah, to be fair to Buns, though, he had a tough week the week before where one, as I'm sure everyone knows, was his mistake. But he's a player that very rarely makes mistakes. And he's had a lot of bad luck in Team Wars over recent seasons. For a player of his caliber, his record really doesn't, display how good he is. So I feel like he maybe deserved this little bit of luck, which helped us win the game.
That's for sure. Like, meta is just like that not always will you have a better player go out on top. There is too much sack involved. But yeah, sorry for interruption.
No worries. Yeah, if you guys have any comments before I move on to another match, feel free to interrupt at any time. We can't keep talking about a match forever, but if you have any comments, we can fit those in. Anyway, Destiny Draw versus Divine. This was one of the biggest upsets of the week, and probably the margin was the most surprising aspect to this game. We have Luxa on the call with us. Luxa, your team.
Hello.
Hey, what's up? Your team shattered all expectations and really went above and beyond with this game. Last week when we were on Teamworks Talks, the predictions both in the chat and on the stream were overwhelming me in Draw's favor, but with a slight margin. Your team won with a very massive margin here, and it was a two-man performance. Two people just ridding of Draw's 10 decks. How proud are you of this team overcoming the adversity you guys had in the first couple of weeks? And second question is, how are you feeling? I mean, I don't even know if someone got to interview you or anyone else after, maybe Levi, but like no one got to interview you after the game.
Well, I feel fantastic. I think after our first couple of weeks, it was a struggle to say the least. But I think we've bounced back and we've had some good weeks now, especially this past weekend. No one really expected us to beat Destiny Draw, let alone beat them as bad as we did. And I think I'm really proud of our guys for putting in the time to have such a fantastic week.
Yeah, one of the, biggest stories of Team Wars in the past 3 seasons has been your team. Your team coming off 2 very, very tough seasons. I believe it was a 2-8 and a 1-9. I don't remember which order was which. But last season, you guys were 6-4 and made playoffs, a dramatic and massive improvement. And you guys continue to make yourselves known in the league by taking big names, D-Draw being a former champion and top 4 finisher. How proud of you of not only your own accomplishments as the owner of this team, but also the roster you've created going through all those tough times and now being in a position to succeed?
Well, I think one, it just shows that any team, and this is not just us, any team that puts the effort in can do it. I think it just takes teamwork, communication, and really grinding and knowing who your teammates are to be effective. So when I see other teams this season and last season are struggling, I see myself and like our team, just because I know what it takes to get out of that hump. But now that we're out of it this a little bit this season, not yet, but a little bit, I'm really proud of it. I just think it represents all the effort we put in.
Well, another addition you guys made this season was adding Levi San or Akai San. He hasn't had his good share of more performances in Team Wars in the past 1 or 2 seasons, but he definitely had a very, very good performance this past weekend. How much of an impact has he been for your team as an addition, and how satisfied are you with him?
I'm completely satisfied with him. He's probably one of our best Crystron players. He plays the deck super effectively, and it's a big part of the reason we won the war. If you look at the match report specifically, the reason he was able to be so effective is because he was able to play Blackwings and do so well with it for so long that when his Crystron's came in finally, it was in a good spot. And not only was it in a good spot, he played both decks fantastically. So I couldn't have asked for much more from him.
Yeah, sounds good. Man, he's 6-1. I think he's probably gonna be up for Player of the Week honors. We'll see what happens with that, but definitely, I'm expecting. We'll have to see the rest of the match reports, but maybe an honorable mention. From my opinion, I'd say he'd probably be there. Do you have any other comments about this game or your season thus far? Maybe the floor is open for you now to kind of elaborate on anything you want to mention.
Well, I think I've done a lot of reflecting the last couple of weeks on our season so far and the last couple of seasons we've had in general, and I think it's interesting because next week we play the Kings, I believe, and they haven't had the best season, but I think they're a fantastic team that's just struggled a little bit, and I see ourselves in them. So I'm excited to play them this upcoming week. But other than that, I think we're gonna stay focused and get ready for playoffs, especially the earlier the better.
All right, we'll wish you the best of luck for next week's matchup. We have time. We'll definitely get some chance to talk about that a little bit more later into this talk. But unless anyone else has any comments, we can move on to the next game. We do want to do all the games of the people in the call
never
first.
had a chance, bro.
They never had a chance. The moment Victor Lee stepped onto the table, it was over.
Victor Lee messaged me and was like, "I'm playing this week," and I was like, "Okay."
You don't mess with the goat.
He didn't say okay. He said, "Okay, pal."
Okay, pal. All right. Chris, tier 0, 10-7. But more importantly, you went 4-2. You must be feeling on
That's
top of the world.
surprising.
I think the better thing to say is
Is that surprising, bro? What do you mean by that?
No, I think the right thing to say is it's about damn time. Like that, you've seen that LeBron gif.
The planets aligned, bro.
The planets. Okay. Well, your team was down 0-3, including your first brick loss with Karakuri.
Well,
it was looking
I
a
wanted
bit.
to know how my team felt.
Yeah,
we
they probably
bricked twice with his decks. Then I go in, I brick with Karakuri.
Yeah, they probably were thinking it was gonna be an 0.
Already.
They're probably like, oh, okay, it's an 0-4. Just wrap this up, or it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you won
for some reason I didn't break with Karakuri in 4 or 5 games.
And you almost let one of those games slip too against Invoke Magician Girls, but it seems like the opponent
didn't left it simple. It was a hard game.
Okay. So talk about it. Let's talk about this game. What happened?
I don't exactly remember, but I remember that like even the games that I didn't break, I would have to grind my way out. And it was a game where he made the Kokusaitus and the Magellanica mid game. Yeah, it was. I didn't draw. I wasn't that afraid that I'm gonna lose that game, to be honest, because I already had a samurai on the field to out Kokitus, and I just wanted to draw a ballista to deal with the Magellanica. So I was just waiting for that.
Okay, and I mean, did the pressure at all phase you at any point, or are you just used to it at this point?
No. My nerves are made of steel, bro.
I mean, you've been through so many terrible situations, both in Clan Wars and Team Wars, whether it's bricks or just getting sacked. And so I guess at that point
you have no, like, there's no pressure on you. You just can do shit. The scary part is when you have a good hand, but your opponent also has a good hand.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you're probably just used to, your expectations were so low that it was just kind of natural for you, right?
I guess every time I play Karakuri, my expectations are always low because I think I will break. Like I will play 1 out of 3 games. Math is not applying.
Did
But
you?
overall, Karakuri is like it feels bricky because when you brick, there is absolutely nothing you can do, unlike other decks where you can have just a slower start. But when you don't brick and you go first, it's almost like a free win. Like I
Well,
know most decks are trying to play needle ceiling and cards like that, but that's not always enough.
oh yeah, definitely. And I want to ask you actually, before the nerf, were you breaking a lot with Karakuri then too, or is it just kind of after the nerf?
Not as much, even though the first week I did brick, but obviously the deck was more consistent. You could play 20 cards, so that makes it much more consistent.
Okay. Well, your team won a very very good game here. You guys were down 4-5 at one point, and then -1 did what -1 does, and he won 3+ games. And
Not only that, he also played Witch to lose a game. That's what negative also does.
yeah, well he went -1 on that loss, right? So, but he won 3 with Invoke Magician Girls. Now you guys have actually had a decent amount of success with Invoke Magician Girls as of late.
Yeah,
It's
it's
always
like our second most played deck. We spam Karakuri and Invoked Magician Girls.
It's funny you say second most played because it's been like probably 80% Karakuri and maybe 10% Invoke Magician Girls, and that's
Did
the
I
same.
lie though?
I know you did not. So yeah, I mean it seems like it's been an essential deck for you guys, and it definitely was the game changer for you guys in this war, putting you guys back up into the lead, and then obviously Wise with Karakuri at the end. Haven't seen him play in a long time, but I'm glad to see he's back in action.
Yeah, he's been practicing Karakuri, so it was fine. Him.
Okay. Well,
Also, yet again,
yeah.
like this is this the first time that I see no Blackwing streaking?
Oh. Well, yeah, no teams even played Black Wings.
Oh, they played once, but
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't
you're
know.
right. You're right. You're right. They did play one.
I saw the previous 2 wars and I saw Blackwing streaking both of them.
Oh, okay. Well, 10-7, you guys are now 4-1. Only loss being to FM, but ever since that loss, you guys have been on a complete tear. Looking
Yeah, I don't understand how we even lost to such a team, but whatever.
pretty. Well, any other comments about this game, Chris, or anything else you want to say about just this game in specific?
Really, I
I would
mean,
like to say that Neg 1 shows really well what the meta looks like. You try to play something fun like Witchcrafter, you lose and then you have to streak with Invoke deck. Feels bad.
to be honest though, Nega always does good with the weights just before this week. Like, even though he repeats it because he always loses the first game, after that he takes 3 or 4 wins. But to be honest, if anyone else on my team tells me, hey Chris, I wanna play Witch this week, I'm gonna tell him to look for a new team. Unless that guy is Neg.
He's the only Witchcrafter player in the world
Yeah,
at
he
this
does
point.
consistently good with Witch, so you can't say anything to him.
The thing about the deck is that it needs repeat rule in order to be successful. Like even last week, he bricked with the
Yeah,
first
it's
deck and then he repeated.
inconsistent.
Yeah, it is really unfortunately inconsistent. But we talked about his hand that he had in this game. Don't let the match report be deceiving. He opened a
Well,
hand which he had a 0.5% chance of opening. He opened double Bear in a 25 card list with no unveiling and no starters. I mean, that's like a 0.5% chance. That's
Hey, whatever, bro. Every single hand in the game is like 3% or
I
something.
mean, you're right, but this is like a very a very broad statistical hand. You have a good point though. You are right. Every hand is probably less than that actually. Probably like 1 to 2%. But if we're talking
Yeah.
specifically, I mean, his hand was like no unveiling and 2 Bear. That's Like he had no play at
That's
all.
the Vassal life, bro.
Hey, it sounds like you're used to all the breaks you've had. Just you've gotten over it, came terms with
I
it,
need
huh?
to play. I need a new deck from Konami that's extremely consistent. That's also not Siranui.
Well, why don't you know, why haven't you played all these like balanced decks that always come out? Seems like you
Like
always like to
what?
play uh the combo decks and shit like that. No, I mean like when well, I suppose the thing is
The only
balance never ends
balance
up
deck we
being.
have right now it's Dark Magician.
Oh yeah, and I know you definitely don't want to be playing that. Uh, I mean, I meant like I guess what I was trying to get at is when a lot of decks come out, they tend to kind of be balanced and then they move away from balance when people realize how to play it a little bit better or build it a little bit better. But yeah, I suppose you're right. I mean, there hasn't been really a consistent, super consistent deck other than Shiranui, uh, in at least a month or so, other than pre-banless Karakuri, as far as I can remember.
I don't even remember what was the most consistent deck we had. Like I remember Sabers was really consistent with the Cyclones,
Thunder Dragon was
with
pretty
Sorcery
consistent
Conduit.
pre-nerf.
Yeah, pre-nerf with Sorcery Conduit and 3 Cyclones, Sabers were really consistent.
Yeah, that too. I mean, they've destroyed the consistency in this game by like killing all those skills too.
Invoke Magician Gaze is also a consistent deck, but less powerful obviously than Sabers.
Yeah, that's true.
Roids, I guess, they might be consistent.
You said roids are consistent?
I suppose they should be,
Oh, okay. Okay. I feel like a lot of your
but I
team
don't
members would
like them.
disagree with that.
I don't think they disagree that roids are consistent. They disagree that roids are just bad,
Oh, okay. Well, if it's okay,
which I agree.
okay. We'll talk more about that deck later. Anyway, let's move on to the next game. Sun Clan versus Kings RaW. You were the man of this war, at least from the start, and then Mastercards took over, and uh, took care of business. But you had some close calls there in the beginning, and then you're able to will yourself to victory. I heard there was a comment that you made to someone that you said that you were gonna 10-0 Kings. You didn't even get half to your goal. How disappointed are you not getting 10 wins?
Yeah, well, it started good. I was 4-0. Then, yeah, I bricked with Christian. I went first, like with 2 impacts, 2 cyclones, so I couldn't do nothing. I got OTK'd.
Oh, okay.
Then I let Mastercard doing this, and he did all the jobs. The opponents a bit misplay because they sent Invoke Magician. No, they sent Ritual Beast against Invoke Droids, which I say is free for us. Yeah, and at the end it was good for us. 10-3 is not bad, so I was proud of the team.
Well, the options were Ritual Beast, Shira, and Blackwings. Which of those three would you say is best into Roids? Shiranui or?
Yeah, everything else, but not Ritual Beast, because Invoke Droids will definitely beat Ritual Beast, because that's why we have it even in the lineup,
Okay.
because of Ritual Beast.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I sent not into it. But even that, I'm proud of the entire team, Mastercard especially. Yes.
Well, you both did a really good job of giving your team some precious RD, and then also you guys were coming off a tough loss last week to Divine, and now you guys have a 3-2 record, I believe. Your only 2 losses being to Divine and Switcheroo, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And so now you guys are 3-2 in a tough division where many other teams are 3-2, but you have one of the best R&D in that division. So all you guys need is a couple wins, and you'll be sitting a little bit better in the division. We'll talk about the divisions later on. You guys are third right now, 1 RD behind Switcheroo, the team you guys lost to in week 1. But you have any comments about this game other than what you've already mentioned?
No, that's team effort. The team is doing really good. I see it like you're doing well as you do the practice. We do daily like 6-hour practice. this is really good, and you see it like then at the end that every team is doing well. And especially Sanklan, I joined the Sanklan this season, and they are hungry, and I see that. That's why I even joined a team. And yes, when we do like that every time, the practice, in the weekend, it pays off. That's a good thing.
Well, congrats on your win. We'll talk a little bit more about your game next week, the next week game, later into
Okay.
this talk. But anyone else in the call have any comments about this game? Feel free to say whatever you want about it, as long as it's not disrespectful. All right, looks like we are going to be moving on to the next game, Phoenix versus Infinity. Metal, when you came on to play during this game, I was in the chat. You were on my fantasy league team, by the way. I had full confidence you were gonna clap and make that last man comeback, but it was a bit manga-esque there with that once you lost to Thunder Dragons with DM. How much pressure were you feeling in that situation, and how are you able to just deal with the situation in general?
Well, first thing I was confused about was when I later went to check the browser which had the game open. I saw you cheering for me, which made me really confused at first. Like, no offense, but it was kind of out of nowhere. So I was like, is this rigged?
Is this
But
rigged?
I was actually feeling the pressure more against the Taime's Karakuri. I remember distinctly saying in my team chat, this man can go 6 times first with counter trap setup, and then he went 6 times first with counter trap setup, and I'm like, okay. So I pretty much had to take the biggest gamble of my Team Wars career. With DM swinging into defense position bonds, I had to disable the counter trap or I just lose. And playing Crystals against Karakuri is relatively easy, but not when they pack at least 3 counter traps that we saw up until that point. So after that was over, it was like easy games, easy life.
Okay.
DM fulfilled its purpose as a stinky deck, and then I could actually play good deck, so...
Well, that Karakuri, or that DM win against Karakuri was very, very big for you guys. Had you guys not won that, maybe you guys won't win the war. But that was a very, very big win, and it kind of at that point you didn't really need it anymore. Kristrons were what was needed to win the war.
Yeah, and Thunder Dragons do traditionally have a good matchup against DM. At least they used to have. Because, you know, what are you going to do? Banish their Thunder Dragons? Come on.
I mean, Levineer
But
is the reason you lost that game.
Yeah. Even though Thunder Dragon deck is neutered, it still does enough to kind of show it has even a niche role in the Team Wars meta. But he didn't open well, so like our last 2 games were relatively easy compared to everything else during that war.
Well, you guys sneaked away with that win after you guys had a very, very good lead. It was 7-4 at one point, and then Taimei with the Karakuri run, as you mentioned. You guys are 4-1 now. How does it feel to be 4-1 after a very, very rough season in season 7 last season?
Honestly, I don't really feel like we won this previous week because we've noticed quite a few small misplays here and there that did end up costing us the game, which is not something that you want to have when you try to spearhead through the division. So, like, we did have a long conversation after that one. Like, pretty much, it's harder for me to talk about small misplays rather than big ones because you kind of don't expect those mistakes to happen, especially when there is a team that has been around for such a long time. Like, you can make a bigger mistake as a lapse of judgment or something like that, but consistent small mistakes were what really drills the point in. Also, we had a one game against that Karakuri when GF played Magician Girls, but he was playing actually from his dorm and he disconnected.
Oh no.
And I don't have to tell you about how much I like getting disconnects in Team Wars. But yeah.
Yeah, that was a big heartbreaker for those rooting for you guys in the chat. Of course, for me, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I kind of did want you to play so I could get those fantasy points. But you know, that was really unfortunate to see, regardless of who was rooting for who. You know, we all want to see teams win cleanly, and unfortunately, DC rules are DC rules, and if you DC, you lose. But that was really tough to see, especially after he went second against the turn one God Hand versus Karakuri, and he could do nothing. And then in the second game, he went second again, but he had a better hand, and then he DC'd. So it was really
Yeah.
that was really sad
That's
to see.
almost like a situation with Buns where he only bricked at one point and that one brick was against the DC. So
Yeah.
it did kind of sting, like pouring some extra salt in the wound after we didn't win. Wait. It's kind the entire matchup against that specific Karakuri was kind of jumbled, and we did take a lot of time to consider our best option. Like, we kind of brought the Magician Girls as a safe counter to Karakuri. Oh, the best counter there is technically because of how they play. Yeah, you know, they are either forced to attack into Berry or they're forced into making an optimal board. But this was a specific case where the opponent packed quite a few counter traps. And you saw what happens when you negate invocation. Like, deck kind of falls apart.
Oh yeah.
And yeah. But I'm glad we didn't get punished too hard for that decision making, where we brought Shiranui first. And luckily we had enough repeats, but our opponent almost won by catching us off guard. That Luna Light player, he could have put a serious dent in our lineup, as you can see. Like, we don't have really good answers to that deck. Like, deck doesn't do much on its own, but in bubble environment, where it doesn't face its worst counters, it can just sack. Like what Sidra was doing previous seasons, but with more furries.
Yeah. I mean, you did a great job though, Metal. 10-9. Close victory again, but 3-1 as a last man standing. Congrats on your win. And if you have anything else you want to say about this game, feel free to, or anyone else.
I was just gonna say I was super glad to see balance with 22 cards as a last deck. That's all.
Yeah, it must have been a relief for you. All right, next game. X Hunters and Lost Tribe. Fake Sticks, you're here on the call with us. Fake Sticks, you have a lot of wins in Team Wars right now. In fact, you have the second most wins, tied for first in all of Team Wars in Season 8 so far. This is your first season in Team Wars 2, is that correct, or am I wrong?
Oh no, still my third.
Oh, it's your third season. Okay, what team were you on in previous seasons?
Divine for the past two.
Oh, okay. Then my bad. Okay. Well, this is your first season with a new team, or it's your team's first season, and so there's a lot of different mechanics involved there. But you've done a great job in pushing your team to many of these victories, including this one on the screen here. You went 3-2 after your team was starting to lose a lead. You're very important in getting rid of that streaking Magician Girl deck. But how are you feeling, man? Your team is 4-1, new team. Very few new teams with a lack of deep prior experience playing with each other. I know you guys have that Clan Wars experience, but you don't have maybe don't have like 2 or 3 seasons of team experience. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys are doing fantastic so far. How happy are you, and are you surprised even that you guys are 4-1 right now?
Yeah, I'm surprised because we went in like, well, I went in thinking like we would do like subpar, like we won't do as good, but that's just me. But like my teammates, like the confidence is up. But yeah, like I'm super happy that we're doing good. The next this week and next week is gonna like be I think our toughest weeks because we're gonna race FM and then Tier 0. So we gotta like really practice for that.
Like, I mean, you've done a great job with displaying the level of practice that you have done behind the scenes. You went 3-0 with Kristrons against X Hunters. Talk to me about coming into the war um, with an opponent streaking and your lead shrinking, and the type of pressure that it gives you in those situations.
Yeah, it's super like it is the pressure is there. Like the first thing on my mind is just not to brick, hope not to brick, and then to play optimally and like playing a matchup in your favor. You have to just play it like slow and well, like and winning the 3. Like I could have won the 4, but I misplayed the last duel against the Karakuri. But yeah,
Well, you've been in a decent amount of these positions so far this season. Not so much with as much pressure on the line. One time you opened, but other times you did close games. Uh, did this situation feel particularly different, or was this just another kind of okay, I'm being sent in and I really need to win this game?
yeah, it was like I'm like have to win, like being sent in,
Did it
and
feel
because
any different from any other times? This so far this season where you sent in and it was a must win.
yeah, because I've like our team lost 3 in a row and coming in like, I don't think I've came into that situation yet from with the Lost Tribe. So
Right.
like, yeah, it was like a must win.
Well, I did mention you did make a mistake in that final Crystron game, but uh, Gautu 99 was able to clutch that out for you guys. It was getting a little bit close there. Both Juke and Zenwa went 0-2 with their decks, but your fifth player Gautu was able to clutch it out. And now you guys are 4-1. We'll talk a little bit about your next week's matchup. It's going to be a tough game for you. I know you know that, but we'll talk about your next week's matchup later into this talk. But is there anything else you wanted to talk about this game, or anything you wanted to mention?
Well, yeah, why don't I mention that all of our 5 players we had all Karakuri, and Zen was playing double Karakuri, so he bought 6 Karakuri that for the game. Just thinking that hopefully that one of them can streak, and then if one like doesn't streak, the other can. But it kind of didn't work out like that.
Well, interesting information that you just gave out there. Maybe your opponents of next week will be watching and listening on what you just said. So uh, perhaps you're attempting to play 4D chess here, or you're just very confident with your team and letting them and believing in them that they can win regardless of what you are uh, what you are saying. Andy has a very good point in chat that Zenwa repeated the Karakuri. If you did have 2 Karakuri, that would be a very funny if it was true. But anyway, I guess we'll move on to the next match report. Duel Links Taiwan versus Garuda. Buster GG, you're here with us right now. Congrats on this win.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Buster, you have been part of Team Wars as someone on Garuda, not the owner anymore, but you've been on leadership of Garuda since season 2. The season you guys got second place, and since then you guys have had a not so good seasons in between, but the past 2 seasons, not including this one, you guys have been performing quite well. And this season, you have been performing extremely well. 4-1. That's the first time you guys have ever been 4-1.
Yeah.
This is the best season you have had ever, as a team. And many of the OGs, many of the people that have been here since the start are very happy for you guys. Many thought that maybe the time of Garuda was over and all those players were busy now, but you have worked with your team to make a lot of good changes, and your team is doing so well this season. How does it feel, man? You're 4-1, second place in the division, only behind Drawsense. You're yet to play against Drawsense.
No, I think rookies. Rookies are drawn.
Oh, yeah, okay. I
think it
might
was
have
rookies.
mixed up the divisions then. Oh
Yeah.
yes, you're right. Yeah, rookies. Sorry, rookies
Yeah.
is 5-0 in your division, and you haven't played them yet. Have you played them yet?
Nope.
Yeah. Okay. Just making sure. Yeah, you haven't played them yet, and so
Yeah.
that will be either next week or the week after. We'll talk about that later. But 4-1, man, that's really good. And
Yeah.
you guys barely missed the playoffs. You guys were 13th both last season and the season before, but now you're on track to get a second seed playoff spot. How are you feeling?
Well, this is actually in terms of achievement. I mean, like our second season is the best achievement. We're in the finals, but we lost. It's the big pressure for our teams. I mean, like from the third season until 7, we're expecting to be the champion. When your teams have been in the final and like you never make it to the playoff, this is the hard thing for us. We need to gather all power. We gather a very strong rooster that really have a strong matchup, strong decks, strong mindset, and decks makes us really stronger, even better. But these last 2 seasons, we in the same group with Duel Links Taiwan or Forbidden Memories. We've been like in myself in my mind mindset. Forbidden Memories has been a very hard rival, and I'm really happy with this 4-1 this season because what we're doing here is I'm trying to make condition in my team with no pressure. I mean, like we have the metalists, like there's Karakuris, there's Shiranui, there's Crystron and everything. But what the things is, I didn't put pressure on my roster. Anything you want to play, just play it. If you're really good in Crystron, just play it. If you're really good in Shiranui, just play it. I don't want to make any pressure. That's what we're doing. If I'm trying to make pressure to him, you have to play this, you have to play that, and the opponent will put you in a certain condition. Just we'll feel like uh, we know we'll get misplay or anything, but when you play no pressure, you play, you master your deck, you train every day, you're getting pretty solid teams. You play with no pressure. You're playing good, and your opponent will not expecting you to play like that. That's what happened. And as you know, in my countries, Indonesia, there's Team Wars Indonesia, and I'm the president right now, and it's been a third season. What we're doing in Garuda is I'm seeing like the best player in Team Wars Indonesia. We recruit them to our roster, our players. So it's been a good days, and we're hoping that we will step into the final again and make the champion. That's our target for sure.
It's interesting you mentioned the team was Indonesia. So you're essentially you have a league of so many Indonesian league players, and you're basically adding the best of those players onto your team in Team Wars.
Yes, the best player and the player that cooperative with us. I mean, like if you're a good, there's a lot of good player in Indonesia. I mean, like there's 33 teams playing right now, like at least 10 rooster in one teams. And, there's a lot of there's a lot of great guys in my country. So we have to gather the best player, but not selfish. I mean, like even you are in the top KC Cup or in the top KC Grand Tournament, it doesn't matter if you're very being selfish. The thing is you have to be cooperative, working as a team, and what manager told you, what owner told you, you have to do what they said, but with no pressure. That's the thing that we're doing right now.
Well, whatever you guys are doing, it's working very, very well. You guys are
Yeah.
taking big names as you've done, even in those seasons where you guys didn't do as well. You guys would take big names there's just a level of
Yeah.
inconsistency. But now you're showing a high level of consistency and
Yes.
doing very well. Do you have any comments about this match, bro? I mean, you were the man of the match for
Yeah.
your team, 4-2. I feel like I haven't seen you play in a long time, but
Yeah.
you definitely played so well here for your team and propelled them to victory. How does it feel? You've done so much work for your team as, in the
Yes.
leadership, but this time you're doing it actually in the game. How different does it feel?
Well, first of all, we're getting 4-1, but we're not very happy yet. Before I talk to the match, okay, we're not feel very happy yet because the last two season we'll feel like we have a lot of wins, but in the middle of the season, I mean, like we're getting lost just to another team makes us even almost make it to the playoff, but that doesn't happen. That makes so that we have to keep focusing, keep practicing, just stay focused. So if you're still not a champion, don't don't screw it. Okay, I mean, you just keep focused. That's what we're doing. And about my match, I've been not playing this very long time because I have to lead some organization in a competition. So this is a hard time for me. But in my match up, I'm using Infocroid and Shiranui because I'm expecting Duel Links Taiwan will play with. I mean, like there's a lot of player that thinks that Invoke Magician Girl is really great, but in my opinion, Infocroid is better because Invoke Magician Girl is uh you have to use the very great Aleister. You're depending on the Aleister, but when you play Infocroid, there's submarine that can attack directly. Even there's a Crystron or any other very hard matchup, there's still submarine that can help us really a lot. And as you know, I'm playing Lava Golem so that we can do some surprisingly match, but it didn't happen. And with Shiranui, I think I'm trying to counter Kali's Crystron, but it didn't happen. My manager, Elias, do that. So we'll learn a lot with Duel Links Taiwan because that team is really exclusive, and I know that I've been know them like 2 years ago. Since I start playing Duel Links, these teams are very exclusive. They have very certain communities, what decks they were playing. I learned it, and I'm implicate to my teams how we playing, how we counter against them, and well, thank God it did work very well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, both you and Elias. I don't know. Elias is the manager now of Garuda.
Yes, he's a manager. It's kind of in the top 10 Asia, the last KC Cup, and in number 3, if I wasn't wrong.
So both you
Yeah.
and him played in the game. Does it feel odd to usually you or Elias are the ones telling people to play, but now you're the ones that are actually playing. Does it feel weird to kind of put yourself in that position to play, or does it feel like there's
No,
more
no, no.
pressure to do better because your entire team is counting on you even more so?
Look, I feel nothing. I feel normal. I mean, like in our teams, me, FS, Ryu, or Alias, or any other teams, there's no like such thing. You are the top. You're the best player. No, no, we're the same. We're just me as the owners, pass of like a lot of season, and now I'm a coach. Is it doesn't matter. We're working as a team. We're just discussing, and there's Avis and me that maybe deciding. Okay, we're using this, but basically we're discussing every deck that we're gonna play, who's gonna play. We're discussing it all. I mean, like, is it working as a team? So you're the coach, you're the manager. It's just a title. It's not. It doesn't matter to us.
Well, congrats again, Buster. We're going to talk a little bit near the end about the Roids versus Invoked Magicians. So hopefully you can participate in that discussion. But congrats again on this win. Duel Links Taiwan now
Thanks,
2-3. Last season they were division champions, so currently they're not on track to do that. Garuda and Rookies are a bit ahead on that front. But moving on to the next game, it is Neo versus Forbidden Memories. Actually, since Hideki is now here, Hideki, I want you to take a chance to introduce yourself to everyone. Is he here? Oh, there he is.
Yeah, I'm here. You want me to talk about the Forbidden Memories game?
No, I just wanted to. I'm gonna switch it to Forbidden Ones.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had it pre-planned, but since you weren't in the call in the beginning, I completely forgot that you were joining just because I'm an idiot. But
I can talk about forbidden memories if you want.
well, right now
Yeah,
we're gonna do the FO Claw Clan game. You can talk about that too
Who
as
cares
well.
about FO, bro? I mean, okay.
he's still mad that I beat him with the anti-magic arrow, which is all good. It's all good.
Well, hey
Um,
Decky, you guys started off 0-3, but now you are 2-3. You beat Claw Clan, who is actually a very hot team so far this season, especially with Ma doing so well for them. Every single week that they played Ma, they won, except this week. You guys broke the streak and won with emphatic fashion, 10-6. Things are starting to come out a little bit better for you guys, and it's not too late for that to happen. 2-3. How do you feel?
A little bit relieved that we finally got our first W against Smoke on Duel Links, and now we have our second win against Clockland. So yeah, we definitely had our worst start ever in in Team Wars since season 3. So yeah, it was a little bit of a bummer for sure. And yeah, man, actually we didn't really change much our approach compared to the other weeks. Besides just I think just figuring out the best deck lineups. But yeah, I think right now I'm kind of relieved that we finally got our first 2 wins, and we just try to make sure that we keep on that streak. So yeah, shout out to Karakuri for closing out both of our games against Smogon and against Clockland. Ivory going 4-0 last week, and I mean the week before, and Clockland now with Wei Young going 3-0. So shout out to Karakuri. But yeah, I'm just very happy, especially against Clockland. What I did notice this game was that they did that we did make sure that they used their repeats early on in the game. As you can see, Komeo and Rico used the 2 repeats very early on in the game, which gave us a bit of an advantage. But Ma scaring us with that DM streak. So yeah, overall, I'm just super relieved at the moment. And next week we have SCM, also a very tough opponent, but definitely not unbeatable. We defeated them before, and yeah, we just try to do it again.
Yeah, and also another thing to notice from Clockland, they didn't bring any Karakuri decks. At least that ones that we saw. Maybe they had it with the Invoke Roids there. It's gonna be hard to say.
Yeah,
Probably not, but
yeah, yeah. That's also a thing that we noticed that they didn't. That they probably did brought Karakuri with Komeo and Rico, but because of the repeats, they didn't have the chance to bring it out. And yeah, also let me see.
I want you to talk about the
Yeah,
DQ and time limit loss wins. For those that didn't get to see the war, do you want to
yeah,
elaborate on what
yeah.
happened there?
Let me see. Oh yeah, the DQ loss. If I remember correctly, you saw Cardinal loaded the wrong deck, like the wrong deck size. So what he originally, his original deck size was 21 cards, but he forgot to take out 1 card. So he queued in with 22 cards. So that was his mistake. And yeah, a time limit loss. Yeah, a time limit loss. It is what it is, unfortunately. So yeah, that was the the loss actually. Yeah.
Well, you guys have been able to take big names. Like you said, you guys beat SEM in a previous season, but you guys have been able to take big names, but it's just been the inconsistency factor. So
Yeah.
far 0-3, but now you guys are you started 0-3, but now you guys are 2-0, which is a streak I'm sure you guys want to continue. You guys are playing against a 2-3 team next week, and I mean, we're gonna talk a little bit more maybe about this later on, but I want to ask you, um, are you approaching every single game now as like a must-win mentality, or do you feel like there's still some flexibility there?
No, no. At this point, it is every week is a must win, especially after that loss against Bricks and Potatoes, so which we had. That was a kind of a huge loss, like 10 to
10-3.
3. That,
Yeah.
yeah, that was a super huge loss. Like we didn't have that for a while, so definitely. Since that week, it was just no excuses. Just try to win, do your best as much as you can, and unfortunately, the week after Bricks and Potatoes, we faced Phoenix, and we had some few misplays that really cost us the game because I think we started with a lead of 5-2 in that game, so that was a bummer. So that was definitely a war that we probably should have won, but like I said, doing what's it called? Doing the reveals of the divisions, like we have this problem that we can't close games as much as we like to in the middle of the games. So that is basically what happened during that game, and yeah, also this game we had a few misplays as well with I think Sylar, when he was playing his Black Wings against Dark Magician, he made a kind of a weird board against Dark Magician. He ended with a Pixie Dragon, a Zephyros, and a Hawk Joe on the field turn 1 against DM, which was a kind of a weird play, but we explained it to him and he took it really well as well, and no hard feelings. So yeah, just trying to improve and just face SEM next week. That's all.
Well, congrats on this win again. Any other comments about this game, anyone? All right, we'll move on to the next game. Now,
Yeah.
this is where I want all you guys to maybe contribute to the match reports and the games. I've already talked about almost all of these games in depth on my own personal channel, and so I don't want to be repeating myself, but I want to give an opportunity for you guys to talk about these games and kind of discuss with each other. But Neo FM starting out first. Chris, I know you have some comments about this game. Go ahead.
Yeah. If you don't know, I play for Forbidden Memories in Clan Wars, so I know all of their roster, like their players. So Neo is having a really bad season, and like from time to time they bring a lot of meme decks in theory, like Weather Painters. I don't know if they just like the deck or they thought it's a good meta call, but it did good for them. Like then we see Megalith and Dragunity. I know some Japanese teams think Dragunity can counter Karakuri, but personally I don't think so, because Dragunity, so it can't counter any deck. And yeah, it was looking really bad for FM until Zeta streaked with Karakuri. And Zeta does good every week. Also, Karakuri is streaking in almost every single war. You will see at least one Karakuri streaking. So, yeah, I think FM maybe could lose this game if, like, Neo didn't bring Megalith and Dragonti and they played instead some better decks, but we take those.
Anyone else want to add to that or say anything about this game? I do want to comment on the Weather Painters. I think it's interesting they sent the Weather Painters into Karakuri.
Yeah, to be honest, Weather Painters, I don't know if it's like they just like it or it's a good meta call, but in theory they should have a good matchup versus Invoked at least for sure.
And Shiranui. Both of those are really good matchups for
And
for Weather
maybe
Painters.
with Karakuri, I guess, since they brought it, like they used it as a counter.
What I'm surprised is they sent Weather Painters into Karakuri over Dragoonity, because in previous weeks they thought that, or in previous weeks X Factors and rookies were sending Dragoonity into Karakuri. So
Yeah, I saw Japanese teams last week like to try to counter Karakuris with Dragonity, but I did test that deck just a bit, and it just feels so underwhelming. I don't think it's like even a good idea to bring it, no matter if it has a good or a bad matchup.
Well, they brought it and they went 0-2 with it, and then I mean, it seems like they only brought two Karakuri and two Shirnu. I mean, both of them were the same exact combo. We're not sure about the text at the moment, but they're both the same exact combo, and then they comboed their quote unquote rogue decks with each other, which typically isn't a good isn't a good strategic call. But I
For
mean,
sure, but maybe they have practiced these decks. They know like what matchups are good, what matchups are bad. And also, I think the Zetas Karakuri that beat Megalith, he rebricked, but he won anyway. I don't know if that says anything about Megalith.
surprised to even see
Those are
Megalith.
kind of interesting decks, both Megalith and Dragonity. But the problem with them is you have to have such a large core, so you don't really get deck options. I mean, you can squeeze some in, but then you lose on the point with the deck.
Well, I think Megalith and Weather are definitely better than Dragonity.
Oh, that's for sure. Especially since there is a new deck factor where like 99% of community saw the cards and said like, I'm not trading that shit.
Yeah, but for Dragonity to function, they need to clear all their back row and also have combo on top of it.
And then that's not even enough for OTK without the lands, which some are not playing in favor of Trunade. So like,
Yeah, or the level 6, I guess. And also if they go first, like their board is very underwhelming.
yeah, well, Megaliths can just pop the people that don't know what they do. Or
Megalith is good, but
don't
Dragonity going first doesn't do anything.
True.
I think maybe if we get better rank 4s, Megaliths can become better. We this week we did have Dire Wolf.
Megalith feel also a bit fragile to disruption. Like I don't know if they can play through like one disruption if the other one knows what to stop.
Yeah. I'm dropping some frames right now, so I apologize to chat. I might lower my bit rate though. I don't know why I'm dropping so many frames.
Bro.
I know, man. I was having a maintenance for my in my area last night for internet, so I was kind of worried that this would happen. I'll just lower the bit rate. I apologize. The quality's gonna go down just a little bit, just a very a small amount. Okay, never mind. We're good now. I don't need to do it. All right, never mind. False call. All right, yeah. So, sorry. Back to the game. Um, I think FM. A big reason why FM won was because Neo brought those two decks and was able to kind of just get wins because of it.
Yeah, but Neo does that like every other war they will bring. I remember the first time we played versus them in TZ, they brought spell books when like when they were not meta, when in Dark Lord, the Saber and Blackwing format, they brought spell books with the Tricky, and they brought Ancient Gears, I think.
I remember that.
I'm like, what the fuck is this team doing? And now you see them playing Megalith, Dragonity, Weather.
Yeah, I mean, it's worked for them sometimes. They brought DDD last season, and it worked for them. It works maybe once every 3 games.
If you're extremely lucky, everything can work.
I don't think this is not the meta for that type of stuff to work. When you have a deck that goes first and auto wins in like 80% of the matchups.
When you have to face Karakuri, you can't afford to give free wins, because if they strike out of nowhere, there is no comeback.
I think the first thing you mentioned is that Neo has not been doing good this season. They were top 4 last season. Right now they're 1-4, and I think a big reason for that is that this is just not their meta. They're not able to be as successful.
I don't know. Neo always does good in clan wars and team wars, but this season they do bad in both clan wars and team wars.
That's what I'm saying. I think
So
it's
maybe
I think it's the
you're
meta.
right.
Yeah, I think it's the meta, not so much, whatever else. I think it's just the meta that it just doesn't match them.
Yeah,
So
maybe.
Unfortunately, you just can't
Or their
bring
players are
up.
just inactive.
or maybe their players can't play anything else. They just like playing. We won't know. We won't know. Unless anyone knows these players personally, we won't know. But what we do know is that this is not going to work. They're not going to be able to make the playoffs with this type of strategy.
They are
Unfortunately,
0-5 or 1-4.
they're 1-4. Now here's another thing I
Oh.
want to mention. Neo in season 6 was also 1-4, I believe, and they ended 5-5. So if a ban list comes anytime soon, or a new box comes right before KC, and they happen to win like the next 2 weeks in between that, and it becomes 3-4 for them, I wouldn't be surprised if they just win 3 in a row in that new meta. It's very possible. Like, we know they're capable of doing that as long as they're not, distracted by these unorthodox strategies. But
Yeah.
they have the
I
capability of
mean,
doing so. I mean,
mathematically they still have a chance, so I am sure they will try their best.
yeah, they definitely do have a chance still. They can't lose any more games, but they haven't gotten hard streaked on, except for the 12 o'clock versus Neo game where Alicorn won 10 in a
Oh,
row. Other than that, they have not gone streaked on hard. But we'll see what
yeah.
happens. Right now, they're not looking like they're gonna make the playoffs, but maybe they can squeeze into that wild card spot. You never know. FM last season was 1-3, and they ended up making playoffs 6-4, and they went 5-1 in the last 6 weeks. So anything is possible. This is Team
It's
Wars at the end
because
of the day.
PDS was bribing teamwork stuff.
Well, there's a
If
meta
I
change
may,
too for them.
I actually commented with Momosaru on that 12 o'clock versus Neo game, and they had such a bad luck where one of their teammates didn't see that they announced repeat, so he went in with the other deck, and then he just lost, which led into Alacorn just opening square 8 games in a row.
Oh my god. Wow. Yeah, that's really unfortunate. I mean, communication is a part of success. If you don't have proper communication, then it's on the team, and that's always something teams should be aware of. But
And that's even sadder because Neo started off with 4-1 or 4-0. I can't
2-0,
remember exactly, but
2-0.
yeah, they had basically great starting point.
Yeah. Well, they did also have a misplay with Ritual Beast in that game. That they could have beat Alicorn.
Yeah, that was more of a missed opportunity by them, but Alacorn could have lost that game because he mismanaged his resources and had both Spectra soldiers banished at the same time, and he didn't have an easy way to recover them. So he could have lost that game, but I assume their mental wasn't really great after what happened with the deck loss, so it's understandable that they didn't
Right.
see the opportunity.
Well, at the end of the day, we know Neo is one of the best teams when they are at point. It just seems like they're not at that point right now, unfortunately for them. But let's see what happens with them later, as we get more and more weeks into the season. Now, one thing that's great about Team Wars is that even if you start, 1-3 or whatever, there's still an opportunity to come back. There's, the tiebreakers aren't, affecting you, your chances, because every single week you have an opportunity to improve your tiebreakers, which is usually R&D as the number one thing, head to head too, if it does matter. But so teams will have an opportunity to come back. I think the only teams truly eliminated from playoffs at this point are the teams that are 0-5, and I think we only have 3 of those teams. So 29 teams are still in the running for playoffs, mathematically speaking, and so Neo is one of them. But other than that, if you guys don't have any other comments, we can move on to the next match report.
Yeah, move on.
Okay. All right, BZ versus Immortals. BZ's 2-2 before this game, and then very, very, very close game, winning 10-9. And after this game, unfortunately, Immortals letting go of their, or Contraire transferring ownership and Puzor, Daedalus, and Contrera all joining a different team after this game. And it looks like maybe the window of opportunity for Immortals is closing there. Do you guys have any comments about this match report and maybe the changes that Immortals made after this loss?
Like, what's the score of Immortals right now? I know last season they made playoffs.
They did make playoffs last season. And right now, do you mean what their division?
Yeah, after the BZ lost, what's their score?
They're 2-3.
1, 2, 3, or
2-3 -2.
Okay, because we played them last week before 12 o'clock Cheaters, and it was a close war too. It was like 10 and 8. And I think Immortals are a good team. If they, if nothing of that stuff happened, I would think they had a nice chance to make playoffs. But after they're losing Contrera and Daedalus, I know they are really important for the team. They're among their best. And also they lost Puzur, so I don't know, now things are looking grim for Immortals.
Yeah, it is looking really grim for them. As far as the match goes, Invoke Magician Girl is 3-0 for BZ, and other than that, no streaks.
Is this match report correct? Because did Sakura really bring double DM?
No idea, but yeah, a really close war.
Xerix is in the chat. He can
Magician,
confirm whether or not that's the.
Because
Zarek has no idea, bro.
Oh wow! They said
Bruh.
he did.
I
Oh
would
wow!
I would not trust that piece of shit deck as not more than one per match.
Well,
Yeah, I can
maybe
feel that.
maybe they didn't. Maybe they. I don't know. Maybe they just didn't. Oh, he
Oh
submitted
my.
a second D. Okay. There's what Sakura
Okay,
said.
that actually makes sense.
Well, Sakura, I mean,
It
it
was a
actually
happy accident.
it was actually a miracle in disguise. Let me tell you why, or a blessing in disguise, because if you look at it, they had run out of their repeats, and he lost his first game with the Dark Magician, and then he won 2 in a row, and so he went 2-2. That's actually a miracle in disguise. You like did a pseudo repeat. It was like a third repeat, although you actually.
Yeah, Sakura's second deck will be most likely like a Siranoi, I guess, or
It
Hero,
was
and she
a
would go.
that's
Well,
what we call a calculated misplay.
he would go 0-2, so be
I'm
thankful.
actually curious if Sakura wants to answer. What was his second deck supposed to be, since he's in chat? Oh, okay. So yeah, Double DM actually ended up doing them such a nice like. Team kind of reminds me of Karakuri because you either open your shit or you lose, and like
Yeah,
I
that's
don't.
why most teams hate playing a bunch of Karakuri because it feels like a big risk.
Yeah,
Which
it's.
kinda is, I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, it kind of is a risk, and then you also play a deck that doesn't really have a lot of outplay potential. You either win or you not, and like that pretty much depends on your starting hand. Like grind game is non-existent. You don't plus without combo, so you just basically end up on gimped Blackwings if you don't open the nuts.
Yes, but if you have a combo, it's the best deck in the game.
Yeah, like I talked about it, I think with Mo. Karakuri is tier 0 deck, but if you rebrick, you just put 1 ahead of that 0 and that's it.
True.
I would
Unlike
like,
other decks,
like
that if they don't break, they can have like a semi-decent hand. Karakuri is either God hand or trash. There's nothing in between.
I would really like to, if there is one deck I would like to see banned, is Karakuri. Because it's
Yeah,
like with Karakuri around, it seems like a fake meta where like deck underperforms and overperforms at the same time, and
yeah, it
like
has
there's
a
such
toxic
huge
playstyle.
disparity. Yeah. I do wonder if we have the stats for Karakuri. I'm actually curious how they did overall.
Well, we'll
But I
see.
wouldn't be surprised if they had around 50% win rate
Well,
because of
we have the meta-analysis images, and we're gonna reveal them in this talk. It's not public yet, but we're gonna reveal it in the talk. And so let's
okay.
move on to the
I'm
next
just gonna
game.
say, I'm not
Yeah, go
gonna be
ahead.
surprised if they end up closer to 50% than what you would expect because of just that factor that you open shit hand or rebrick. So like it seems like they would have super high win rate, but I wouldn't be surprised if they had a lower.
Well, they had an
I'm not gonna be
extremely
surprised even if they have 40% win rate.
well. Week 1 they were 37%. Week 2 they were 41%, and then week 3 they were like 51 or 2%, and then week 4 they were 51 or 2%, 52%. So we'll see if they
Right.
continue to be around that 52% or if they go lower or higher. But we'll talk about that after. We got to get through these match reports first. We only have a few more left. Next one is Death Row Draw Sense. Draw Sense is now 5-0. Death Row is now 1-4. Death Row's only win being against Abusement Park, and Draw Sense obviously not having any losses. This is a very good win for Draw Sense. They're now 5-0. One of the fewest. Actually,
It's only Drossens and FM or not.
well, Draw Sense, FM, and rookies. But I was gonna say,
Oh,
Draw Sense is 4-1. Sorry, never mind. Yeah, Draw Sense is 4-1. I apologize. They lost to Destiny Draw 10-9. I forgot about that.
Kinda ironic they lost to another team named after a skill, but okay.
Yeah, that's true. So this was a
Oh, and
really
actually,
yeah.
I have no idea, bro. I've never seen any of the Drossens players. I don't have any idea who they are.
They're a Korean team. They have a lot of Korean events, and a lot of their players are gold icon players in the region, and have done really well in Korean events. But this was a really good team performance from Draw Sense. Everyone pretty much doing a decent job. Gatko did have a break in that second duel, but it was a all around team performance from Draw Sense to take this win. A 10-6 game. Death Row had 1, 2, 3, 4,
Now that I
5,
saw this match report,
6
though,
Karakuri.
I see a respectable amount of Blackwings doing really good in this week, actually.
what's kinda curious to me is Draw Sense is, as Chris said, I don't recognize any of these names, but they obviously have to be doing something right if they're 4-1. Especially since I assume this is their first time playing, and that's why we don't know about them. But also, it's pretty curious to see how they used 0 repeats that entire match, which tells me that they planned out their pairs really well, and that's rather commendable, especially for the first timers.
Well, a lot
Yeah.
of teams end up repeating because they have to, because they brick, and since it's a card game, you expect teams to brick. So maybe they just didn't have those situations, but still, it's very commendable that they didn't have to repeat. It shows that at the very least they played well, and their players did their job with the hands that they were given, and that's, like you said, very commendable. Yeah.
Okay, so what's the Dex, bro, already?
Huh? Oh yeah. Let's go on to the let's go on to the next match report. God's Chosen Toon
I'm
Squad.
curious now to see how Blackwings did, because I see them striking left and right.
Well, yeah, I'm curious too. I actually haven't seen. I put it on OBS, but I actually haven't seen.
Okay, good
it.
win from God's Chosen. Good job, guys. Move forward.
I do want to say something about this game. Is DM streaked.
Wow. Next match report.
Does anyone else have any comments about this one? Move. It's even Wower is saying move forward. Usually, one thing I want to say about this match for is in the past 2 weeks we've seen Toon Squad have not so good starts. At least the first half of the game for Toon Squad has not been very good. Like the middle and after the starter has not been good in the past 2 weeks. But the one or two people that close for Toon Squad have done a really good job for them in previous weeks, against Duel Links Taiwan and the week before, which I can't remember who they played. But unfortunately for them this week, Herf and Diego both going 1-2, and it allowed God's Chosen to build up an even bigger lead and win the war. Herf did go, I believe, 3-2 with in the previous week, and so unfortunate for him to not do as well this week. And Toon Squad is now 2-3, and so they're now on the spot now of, if they lose one more, then playoffs might be a thing too far to achieve. But still, they're still in it. But they're running out of time, and they can't afford to lose any more games. But same with God's Chosen. They're also 2-3. They needed this win more than Toon Squad did. This was an absolute must win for God's Chosen. They're 2-3, and they have very they don't have the best R&D right now. I think if I take a look, I do want to say that real quick. God's Chosen are okay, never mind. So this game helped them get that RD back. They were 1-3 before this game with -7, but now they're 2-3 with -2. So if God's Chosen are able to, win next 5 out of 6, or rather, sorry, the next 4 out of 5, with a decent RD, they could end up 6-4 with some decent R&D. And same for Toon Squad, who is 2-3 and -4. So we'll see what happens. But I think everyone wants to see the meta analysis, so we'll keep speeding through these and move on to the next one. All right, Pharaoh's MY. I casted this game. I honestly don't know what there really is to talk about. It was a Karakuri go first with Merchant or Ninishi Cash for both teams. Honestly, Nyx, went second against God Hands with Invoke Magician Girl both times. And Invoke Magician Girls, it's very tough for them to break that turn 1 God Hand board going second. And the biggest difference here was that MY brought Invoke Roids, and Pharaohs brought Invoke Magician Girls, but both did not work. And ultimately, the Ritual Beast at the very end with the Anstorm was able to clutch it out for Pharaohs. And this was a very important win for Pharaohs. Sorry, go on, Chris.
About the Invoke stuff versus Karakuri, Invoked might have a favorable matchup versus Karakuri, slightly favorable, but you still can't beat it if they go first with the nuts. You need the best, the exact 5-card combo to beat them. I don't know if that's even possible. Karakuri going first with 2 or 3 sets, you can't beat it.
And another thing is that Pharaohs and MY both coming into this game lacking wins. Pharaohs was 1-3 and MY was 0-4. And Pharaohs now are 2-3 with -3, so it's still very possible for them to make it out. They're in the same division as God's Chosen.
It's week 5, mathematically almost everyone has a chance.
Well, I was gonna say MY is 0-5 and -11. I would say they probably don't have a chance.
Yeah, MY definitely doesn't have a chance. But even if you are 1-4, you still have minor chances.
Yep, and Pharaoh's still in this. They started 1-3 and now 2-3 with -3. This was a nice R&D win for them. They really needed this. And
they were blessed by the Karakuri gods.
Yeah, they were really blessed by them. With Kubillo's run, and so Pharaoh's winning at 10-6.
Yeah, good job, Pharaohs. Let's go.
The only thing that could beat Karakuri is Karakuri itself.
But you need to go first too in the middle.
I think he means about this game.
Oh.
Yeah, kind of like how they Taha mentioned it, but they tried Invoke deck, but Invoke deck got sacked, so
It's the issue with these Invoke decks is many people, want to send it into Karakuri, but these decks can't even deal with the turn 1 God Hand as effectively. and it has to be very, very precisely teched, and then on top of that you have to draw your.
Going second, I think Crystron has the most chance to beat Karakuri.
Yeah, the
If they
level dupe version can break the God Hand board, but then they can also get
like
sacked
Crystron
turn 2.
can go second to Karakuri.
That's kind of interesting because I've always been a fan of Craystrons, and it's really rough if you go second. Like, you have to bring so many back row hate, which is not always enough because we've seen a lot of Karakuri decks now main Cash Shed and Necro Valley for Team War specifically. It's good inside format because of how it interacts with System Down, but even in Team Wars format, it just gives them a lot of options. Like,
Protects the
you've
Necro
seen a
Valley
lot,
too.
yeah. Decks lose to Necro, like Craystrons have issues with it. You can stop the opposing Karakuri from Gamma Oil plays. You can obviously mess up Shiranui, and invoke decks that are supposed to counter it also struggle so hard with Necro Valley because you can't run CC. So you have to lose so much tempo to get trap like Bad Aim or Ballista Squad to deal with that single Necro Valley. And like
Right.
at that point, why not just bring a better deck?
It depends on what you value, right? If they don't open, if Magician Girls goes first in that matchup, it's extremely difficult for Karakuri to win. But if Karakuri goes first and has the combo, then it's extremely difficult for Magician Girls to win, unless, like I said, it's extremely teched out and you draw your techs. But that's the thing. It's what do teams want to do? Do they want to send Shiranui and risk that matchup when clearly Necro Valley is so good into it? Do they want to send level dupe Cristrons because it has a very good chance of breaking that turn 1 God Hand board? Do they want to send Invoked? Like, it really comes down to what teams want, and I think it ultimately comes down to what the other team is playing. Are they playing Necro Valley? Are they playing
Just send the
Cash
Karakuri and go first, bro.
Or do they want to send the mirror match and go first? Like,
what really, really sucks is that Karakuri, as you just said, it turns every matchup into coin flip. And that sucks really bad.
Yeah, I really just disappointed in the way they did this ban list. Should have just immediately put Merchant to 2, honestly, and not only just hurt the recovery of the deck, but also made it.
Karakuri's playstyle is toxic.
Yeah, it is. I don't know if it's the restart nerf that's worse, or the
It's
or the
just you
Karakuri
can't
nerf
play
that works.
Karakuri or against Karakuri and have a fun game. Like, have fun, enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh!
I think restart nerf actually made the deck tougher to deal with
Turn 1.
because before they were running like
It made the deck relying going first more.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know which one was worse. Which
like,
the
if you
fact that they
didn't
didn't
have
hit
the
it.
restart nerf and you just didn't play Trunade, you could play like less traps, more back row hate, and you could go second better. But now you can only play like 3 Cyclone or 3 Lance, whatever at most, but also you play 22 cards, so it's harder.
What's funny is that the next ban list, they're probably going to kill Karakuri or put Merchant to 2 and remove Nanishi from the list. But then Shiranui is still just going to be here, and they're both mini box decks. So
no way, bro.
It's just
Shiranui survives.
That ban list choice.
Man,
because
it's insane. They hit the problematic decks, but then they keep decks that are like I don't think Shiranui is a problem, but it's been here so long. It's like you get bored of playing the same deck over and over again. I'm sure the people that play the deck also get a bit bored of,
For sure.
Yeah.
Like, next ban list, like, they should hit Karakuri, Sira, Crystron, Black Wings.
I mean, here's what I think, man. Like, I said this on my own stream too. Like, what they did last year around this time of the year is that they released Dark Lords, and Dark Lords, they didn't even need a ban list. Dark Lords was the ban list. It just destroyed everything, and there was a fresh new meta. And unfortunately,
if they do that every time, though, we'll stop playing Yu-Gi-Oh!
Well, yeah, no,
if
they don't need to
always
bring
release something so powerful.
They don't need to release extremely powerful like Dark Lords, but they should release something that just destroys a majority of these like decks that we have, like Shira or Black Wings or like or maybe at least half of them, and then let the ban list do the rest. Like I don't mind. Like I really like how Invoked is in the meta right now. It's not oppressive like it was before,
Yes.
and it's also not as common like it was before. It's a bit
If
niche.
you
And,
release something to power creep without Karakuri, I wouldn't like that.
I just hope they fix Karakuri. Like I don't really like um I just don't like the way they hit it. It just seems like it's so much better going first now and so much worse going second now. And like you said,
Yeah,
it just makes
exactly.
everything a coin flip, and
All
that's
these
not
nerfs
healthy.
made them oppressive going first and weak going second.
Man, the ban list was so good too. Like imagine they just if they had just fixed that, and it would have been maybe.
It's also kind of like Karakuri had a specific playstyle where they ran Trunaden offerings to deal with their worst matchups,
Yeah.
Yeah.
as Sabers and Witchcrafters. But then at the same time, when they hit Karakuri, they also pretty much killed the two decks that were keeping it in check.
I mean,
So it really put a meta in an entire awkward spot.
it's inevitable at this point that Trunade and Econ and
Like,
Honestly,
yeah,
are gonna be
I don't
banned. It's
know what
inevitable.
Konami is waiting to put these cards at least at one.
They should have done that. They should have triple limited all those a long time ago. Econ,
Yeah.
Tretch, and all, like they should have because at this
I
point,
hate that these cards are at 2 and you have to hit decks by semi-limiting cards. Imagine if Trunade was at 1 and you limit Ninis instead of semi. That will be a much better nerf.
yeah, I definitely agree.
just ban the stinky cards on your board.
Or like if all these cards, the broken semi-limits like Econ, Trunade, ETH are at 1, you can hit decks like Siranui, Dark Magician if they were more oppressive. Like by putting Squire at 1, Rod to 1. These are real nerfs, not the fake nerfs we have now.
Yeah.
Like the deck that has the most fake nerfs are Black Wings.
Well, at least they don't have clothes anymore. That was a. It's
Yeah,
really.
but putting Raikiri to 2 or Rossi to 2, close to 2, it's like a fake nerf. If you ever want to heal to hit at least that deck, put Simon to 2 or Whirlwind to 2.
Well, that's the issue with the old ban list. Like everything before Limit 3 came out has not even been updated. Like what I hate is that 80% of the ban list is old ban list, like old ban list structure, like no Limit 3, and then the new ban list is all spam Limit 3. Like before they would just be like, okay, Limit 2, oh, Limit 2 didn't work. Okay, double Limit 2 or Limit 2 with the Limit 1. Now it's good. Now the problem's solved. Now it's like, oh, Limit 3 or Limit 2. Like now there's more options. But like, what about all the other decks that were hit before, and all the problem cards from before? That like, why is Destructor Revolution at 1? Like, why can't they just errata every single card in Duel Links that deals effect damage? Why is that card even on the ban list when they could just have
I
to?
don't know. That's a good point, I guess.
Like, I just don't like the inconsistency. It seems like maybe they don't have
Yeah,
time.
they changed all the burn nerfs that they're gonna release from now on, but they should also deal with the previous ones.
Yeah, like I think they're just kind of just throwing stuff in the trash and then letting it sit there instead of like kind of looking at, okay, does this still need to be in the trash? Like, I don't know. Well, I just hope they did it a little bit better.
I just think they need to
they
grow
don't have
some
time,
balls
it
for
seems
the
like.
ban list.
They need to what?
Konami needs to grow some balls for these ban lists. Like they are too scared to
I don't think
change
anyone.
stuff.
I know a lot of people have spent their Dream SR on Trunade. This is the solution. Ban Trunade and just give us another SR Dream ticket.
Yeah, for
Like-
sure. Bro. It
like-
doesn't cost them anything.
Like, why, like, what do they do by keeping Trunade in the game, especially when we have?
I also
like-
think Cytos should be banned, but
Well, I mean,
Because it's just-
that's a different thing though, right? Now, Casaidos is not like a staple in any new deck whenever it's released. Like
I
Trunade,
know, but that's
Trunade
what
is-
I mean by saying they're afraid. Like Trunade is an obvious like ban. It's like the original Trunade in TCG, which was really good, but Trunade here in Duel Links is almost the same as the original.
I think the reason they haven't unnerfed Furhars though is because of Exceeds. Because if I think they're probably scared. Like they're probably wrong, but they're probably scared that, you know, if they release something crazy, it might make Furhar.
Also, they don't hit the ultra rare card, but the obvious solution to that is just give back dream tickets if you
Yeah.
ban a card that's super error.
Yeah, if you're gonna put
Hopefully
something
that-
to 2, if you're putting something to 2, all you're doing is taking one copy of it away. Just give us a Dream UR.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, and I
Like
don't even.
you have fucking Black Wings at almost full power. For me, this like Arian Dorosity 2 is like a fake nerf.
Yeah, I don't know. I really had hope after that last ban list, but it turns out the way the ban
Yeah,
list
me too.
itself was more or less good. It's the way that they hit the restart. I think that was probably the worst shit about it. Anyway, let's move on with the match reports. SEM and Smogon. Smogon hasn't been doing too well this season, but this was a very, very solid performance from them all around. Magikarp did have a small mistake in his game, but other than that, Smogon winning a very, very important game. They're now 2-3, as is SEM. Smogon actually 2-3 -4, whereas SEM is 2-3 -5. Any comments about this game, guys? Yeah,
Yeah, what?
no comment. Seems like
Karakuri
everyone.
taking what's new. But I'm actually
No, we go back to the boring reports, bro.
Well, they
Yeah, ask the
Smogon.
chat if they want to see more reports or to go immediately
Wait,
to the decks.
we do have to go through all the reports, but one thing I want to say is Smogon's been changing up their strategy from week to week. Every week we see a new deck that they're focusing on, or not focusing on, but a new deck that they bring. This week it was Magician Girls, and they won 2 off of that. 2 very important games, in fact. They not only beat the streaking Shira deck, but they also beat the Cristrons that was sent into them. Surprisingly, SEM did not repeat it. I was very surprised about that because the next deck was Karakuri and it actually won, so I guess it worked out for them to not repeat there. But especially since they had the lead, so it's not like they had to risk anything other than giving up a second repeat. At that point, maybe that repeat was very important, but nonetheless, 10-7 Smogon.
Invoke Girls did good for a lot of teams.
Oh yeah, and we'll talk
in
about
this
that.
match report, you always see Invoke Girls doing good.
Yeah, and maybe we'll see a high percentage
Like,
from them.
The rest of the teams are catching up slowly but steadily. That girls are better than Roids.
that I've seen Lava Shira on match reports more than Ghostsmith Girl Shira. Like that deck popped up and then just dropped. Like
Well,
I almost never see it in reports.
I've noticed a lot of teams opened GMG Shiranui. Like if we were to go back and look at all the reports, a decent amount of teams actually opened it. And I don't understand the thought process behind that, personally speaking. It seems like it seems like an interesting option. Maybe it's because they expect I mean, it is a very interesting option. Perhaps people want to increase their chances of winning against like the meta matchups by pairing GMG Shiranui with Karakuri or Cristrons or whatever. But it's just very interesting that it wasn't just 1 or 2 teams; it was at least 5 or 6 teams that did that. But moving on to the next game, Rookies and Diffusion. This was a really heartbreaking. This was a really heartbreaking. Herbal did not play. This was a heartbreaking game for Diffusion because
I'm surprised they lost then.
It was 9-8. It was 9-8 for Diffusion, and then I think Chuchu was about to win the game and he DC'd. He was about to attack for a game and he DC'd. Unfortunately.
And you didn't give him to that?
Huh?
Fake mod?
Well, DC is a DC. A loss is a loss, and at the end of the day,
when he is attacking, bro, if that's a clear win, you should give him to him.
Well, that's what the rule used to be, but there's very different ways to define when someone is attacking for a game, and unfortunately for Diffusion, it was in the middle of the turn. All he had to do was attack, though. I don't remember. See, that's what I'm saying, right?
It doesn't matter, but I think if he declares an attack and it's lethal, but he DCs, it's like obviously you should give him the win, but not if it's in the middle of the turn. Your opponent has defenses.
The local Konami tournaments would disagree with you there. So I mean, it's a.
I mean, if your opponent has 10 cards, you can say.
Collection. Nice.
What was that, Metal?
tournament where you can side your entire collection and you play best of 5. Is that the one you're talking about?
I don't know. It's like these local tournaments that are happening, but I don't know. It's a controversial debate, but having an objective ruling rather than a subjective ruling is just a less of a headache for everyone. And
You're right, Taha.
the biggest issue with what you're saying, Chris, is that
3 months. Add me to your fantasy team this week, Pepe exit.
thank you for the sub, dyslexia. That's also Sean on Divine. He wants people to add him to his fantasy league team. Thanks for the sub, Sean. Yeah, back to what I was saying. So, Chris, here's another thing. There's this loophole to the DC rule that we discovered, and it was basically if you had 10 seconds remaining, but you had lethal on board, like you had to like, let's say you're playing Kristrons, you top deck, a card that's gonna give you game, and like let's say you top deck Wheelader, and it's gonna give you game that turn, but you have 10 seconds. If you just DC and you say you have game by like you summon the Wheelader and you say all I had to do was summon Brio and then use the Brio effect and the Wheelader effect in the grave and just attack for game. Like if you purposely DC because you're running out of time, you could technically get the win depending on how the ref would interpret it.
I understand what you're saying. I agree. I didn't think of that. So okay,
Yeah.
DC we did this.
Yeah, so it's just really messy, unfortunately. We tried our best to make it work for several seasons, but it just didn't work. And fortunately, it's just I don't know if it's people's internet or Konami
Yes,
servers, but unfortunately,
Tsutsu was low on time and he DC on purpose.
we had instances of that in season 2 where people would DC on purpose to get a restart, and we had to fill in
Fuck
this. I mean, we learn from everything and all that. But anyway, as far as this game goes, Rookies is now 5-0 and Diffusion is 3-2. Diffusion's still very well in it, very much in it. They have
Season champions, mate.
Hmm?
Last season's champions.
they're last season's champions. Only one team has cleanly broken the Japanese, or not the Japanese, cleanly broken the champions curse, and it was the Japanese team Destiny draw last season cleanly.
Also, Bricks and Potatoes won.
Yeah,
I
but
think
they got a runoff match, so it wasn't as clean, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it counts for sure, but it was just like D draw was 8-2. So
Yeah.
it's kind of what I'm like. They weren't really affected by that quote unquote curse, but D draw has been not so good this season, comparatively speaking. So maybe the curse
Yeah,
is.
maybe I don't know what's up. I heard some of the players are AFK.
Yeah, I don't know if it's coronavirus or maybe the curse has caught up to them. Anyway, Rookie is winning 10-9. And then I
They
think
won, and they brought Majestic Light Dragoonity. What the fuck?
they've been doing that, I think, for the past 2 weeks.
Just to
Although
lose instantly.
yeah, they did lose there. He didn't repeat though, and probably was better he didn't repeat because the Cyber Dragon helped him beat Invoke Magician Girls. I don't think
Yeah.
Dragoonity would win that matchup.
It's just crazy to me. Like, I had to search up the skill while you guys were talking to see what happened in that deck, but yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, on to the next one. I think this is the last one. Yeah, it is the last one. Bricks and Potatoes versus X Factors. We were just talking about Bricks. So the interesting thing about X Factor so far this season is before this game they had brought 0 Karakuri to every war. At least from what we saw, 0 Karakuri on match reports in weeks 1, 2, 3. Actually in weeks 2, 3, and 4. And they finally brought 2 this week, although they didn't do amazing. They went 2-2. But the story of the game was near the end where they had a Goki that repeated and gift clutching it out 4-2. Very good for Bricks and Potatoes after starting 0-2. Any comments about this game, guys?
I'm surprised that Andy won a game with that city endless trap Helsiranoi.
I think we're playing X Factor this week. And we were going through match reports just to see can we expect anything, and then we saw like 50 different deck types, and like, nah, this won't do us any good. But when you see Goki, you obviously want to think about traps plus Necro Valley. But if you're going to be playing traps and Necro Valley, why not just play a Karakuri? Is what it feels like for all these Gokis, Weather Painters, and stuff like that.
Very interesting from Bricks and Potatoes 2 to only play one Karakuri as far as we can see, and it was in the opening combo. I'd like to assume that Mistine's second deck was a Karakuri deck, but if it wasn't, then something worth raising an eyebrow at. But other than that, I mean, Bricks and Potatoes winning this, a very close game after an 0-2 start, but 10-9 nonetheless, and they're now standing at 4-1 in the division, first place in the division, in fact. And this is the final match report. If you guys have any other comments, please do say while I pull up the meta-analysis, something we've been waiting for like an hour and a half
I'm
now.
surprised they couldn't win with Endless Trap Hell Shiranui, but it's Andy we're talking about. He could probably play Dross and slow level Shiranui and still win.
You give him more credit than he deserves, bro.
All right, meta-analysis is now on the screen. Karakuri once again the most played deck. Shiranui second, Dark Magician third, and Invoke Magician Girls fourth. On my stream I was talking about how I think Invoke Magician Girls was gonna be fourth or fifth, but ends up being fourth. Very surprising actually that it is fourth this soon. I think people are starting to catch on. As you said, Chris, people are starting to catch up on that. But DM is still up there. I think it's decreasing in frequency. If we look at last week, actually, DM was 49, and it's 49 again. Wow, same amount of DM played last week and this week. Shiranui went from 69 to 93, and Karakuri went from 115 to 109. GMG went from 35 to 23, and Blackwings went from 30 to 37. Very interesting.
Yeah, PM has taken the spot of Witchcrafter as a counter to the control decks, so that's why they are so up in the list.
I'm kind of proud to have faced the one and only Trami deck that was played.
Dude, Witchcrafter only 2 played this week. Holy crap. -1 was one of them. I wonder who the other one was. I feel like
2 mega lists though. But I only saw one from Neo.
Witchcrafter played. There were 17 Witchcrafter played.
They won a game, I guess.
Last week. Yeah, Shiranui has not had a good win rate for like 4 weeks now. 3 weeks now. Last week it was 44%. Week 3 it was 47.5%. Week 2 it was 44%. And week 1 Shiranui was not even relevant. At least not control Shiranui. So they've never had more than a 50% win rate, but we're about to find out what the percentages are. It's now up on the screen. Karakuri 52%, Shiranui 42%, rounded up. Dark Magician 39%, that's a big yikes. Crystron level dupe 47%, Invoke Magician Girls 54%, Blackwings 58%. There you go, Chris. SSA Crystron's only 20 played, but 75%, GMG 55%, Royds 56%, and Cyber Dragon 43%. No Witchcrafters on the list, and another deck that's missing from the list that was here last week was Heroes, which if I do go back, sorry, Heroes was played only at 12 and not a top 10 deck this week. So let's talk, guys. I know you guys have been waiting for this for the entire time. Feel free to have a discussion about this. Start with Chris, since you really have been waiting for this for a while now.
I want to see mainly because I saw some interesting stuff in the match reports, but yeah, Karakuri is expected to always be close to 50% no matter what. But I'm surprised that Blackwings did really good.
Well, about Karakuri, I want to tell the chat what their win percentage has been since the ban list. Karakuri was 47% in week 2, 51.6 in week 3, 51.5 in week 4, and then now in week 5, 52.0%. Literally the same percentage in the past 3 weeks.
Yeah, because like we said, it's really oppressive going first, and really it's weak going second. So coin flip is 50-50, so that's why they're close to 50%.
I mean, Shiras have been a low percentage win rate deck since week 2, since the ban list. Like I said, it was 44%, then it was 47.5%, and then last week it was 44%, and then this week it's 42%. So Shira has
Well,
not been good, and it's interesting because more and more people keep on playing it. So maybe your team is onto something, Chris.
well, we haven't played a single Siranui, I think.
Yeah, your team might be onto something here. Maybe some
Yeah,
teams.
it's not a very good. We think as a team that Sira is not a very good deck.
You look at their win rate versus Karakuri, it's actually 12 and 19, 38.7%. Usually we don't like to discuss the specific data because it's a small sample size, but this is a 31 dual sample size. That's a pretty decent sample size for Team Wars. And that win rate is also pretty awful. So some teams last week or in week 4 were sending Shura into Karakuri. This meta-analysis here shows that probably, obviously it's still a small sample size at the end of the day, but maybe shows some teams should be thinking twice before doing that. But another interesting thing is that has a somewhat, I mean, decent sample size is the Shiranui DM matchup. 13 duels, and Shiranui actually has the positive win rate in that matchup. So
Yeah,
That
yeah,
just tells you how stinky of a deck that actually is.
yeah, DM having the same amount of played last week as this week. So um, I don't know, like take all these percentages, take these with a grain of salt. The main thing that I think is most
yeah.
important about meta analysis is
We can
seeing.
only safely assume stuff about Karakuri, Sira, Dark Magician, I guess, because they have a lot of games.
Well, not only, I mean, what I was going to say is I think the best way to look at the meta analysis, in my opinion, is looking at it from week to week. If no meta changes happen,
Yeah,
you want to compare like week 4 to week 5 and see what changed. Like you'll see the Karakuri win rate was the same, which pretty much just validates the what the deck is like. And you see the Shiranui, percentage is more or less the same, just a 1% difference. And the DM percentage went from 60% to 39%, which kind of shows you what type of deck it is.
how many games did the 60% have though?
43, and this time it's
Oh,
41.
what? That's a huge difference with the same games.
Yeah, so it just kind of tells you what the deck is like, you know. So like these meta
Yeah.
analysis are good for comparing from week to week, not so much focusing on one week. But nonetheless, it's very
What about
interesting
Black
data.
Wings last week?
Yeah, so Blackwings last week was 36.7%
How
in
many games?
30, and now it's 36 games
Oh,
and 58. So I mean,
the Dark
Wow.
Magician stuff.
they're basically like Dark Magician in a sense. Now, actually, that does make sense though. Think about it, right? Blackwings. A lot of the teams that brought Blackwings this week brought it for Dark Magician, for the Dark Magician Karakuri combo. Because there's some teams that like that combo, and Blackwings has the ability to 2-0 that combo. Like instead of maybe sending
Yeah,
Karakuri into DM, you could maybe send Blackwings. This is their thought process, right? You could send in Blackwings and potentially 2-0. And so it makes sense that in the previous week Blackwings did bad, DM did good, and now in this week DM did bad, Blackwings did good. So it kind of goes hand in hand. It's like one goes up, one goes down. But that does make a little bit
yeah,
of sense. When
that
you
makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, also makes sense that like a deck like Dark Magician, which is inconsistent, from one week you can get the God hands and beat most decks. The other week you can get the mediocre hands and you can't like beat anything. So I guess it depends if you're like it or not.
Yeah, the deck is so based on it. It's even worse RNG simulator than Karakuri.
Kind of sucks though that Karakuri is coin flippy and combo, like you either, if you brick you lose, if you don't brick you usually like win if you go first. And then Dark Magician is basically the same thing, and Black Wings is the same thing, except you kind of want to go second in in most matchups. It kind of sucks
Dark
that all.
Magician though is definitely weaker than the other two decks.
I know, but I mean conceptually it's kind of the same, right? Like if you break, you just
Yeah.
lose, and if you go first and you don't break, you open Karma Cut, DM full combo. It's like it's hard to lose. You could still lose, more likely to lose with that turn one full combo than you are with the Karakuri turn one full combo. Kind of unhealthy that all of these, like those three decks are in the game right now. Big Six, you
I
haven't
don't
Dark
comment.
Magician is definitely toxic as well.
Yeah,
like I really don't enjoy this meta because we have too many those yes or no decks that just have singular win condition, and if you have it, you have it. If not, like prepare the next deck. And it really sucks when your team relies on you to carry with a deck. But even if you can be the best player, if you don't open the combo, you just don't open it.
yeah.
So like
Yes.
it really sucks relying on those decks. And as you said, there are at least 3 of those yes or no decks currently in the meta. You
Well,
could say
Yeah.
technically the same with Shira and back row. Like if you
No.
don't open back row, you have really bad chances of winning. But if you go first and
Tira
have
is
it,
nowhere close to
Yeah.
that playstyle.
yeah. So, Fake6, you haven't gotten much of an opportunity to talk. I want you to maybe chime in on that meta-analysis if you have any thoughts about it.
The most interesting thing I see from it is how Karakuri's best matchup from it is Invoke Magician Girls, even though some people think it's like a better matchup for Invoke Magician Girls.
Which matchup?
The Karakuri against Invoke Magician Girl.
You think it's favorable for Karakuri?
No, favorable for Invoked.
Oh,
at
okay,
time.
okay.
First, yeah, but I mean, Karakuri goes first. There's not much you can do.
It's
I
not
mean-
a huge sample though.
Look, yeah, it's not a good sample because there's an O2 from Nyx there, which you went second versus full combo twice. So yeah, it's a very small sample size. I would ignore that percentage.
I also beat 2 Invoke girls with Karakuri this week.
I say we blame Nyx.
Yeah, let's just blame Nyx on that. Nyx is, I think, 1-7 this season, or 1-6, 1-6, I believe. So he's not having a good season himself. I'm sure he'll be looking to do better in future games. But
Could you tell us what was the win percentage of SSA last week?
oh yeah, sure. And by the way, anyone in the chat that wants to see last week meta-analysis, it's in the meta-analysis channel in the Team Wars server. This will be posted after Team Wars talks. Last week, SSA Crystron's win percentage was 46.5 with 43 decks played. 20 decks played this time.
Yeah, we don't have good enough sample. If you played 20 more games, I'm sure it will be closer to 50%.
Exactly. So yeah, small
It's
sample
interesting
size.
how the two Crystron variants swapped place, where now SSA is more of a counter pick, while Dupe is just like a general good deck to run. I think previous week was it should have smaller sample of duplication versions, right?
Yeah, it should have a worse matchup, theoretically speaking, because level dupe can break the turn one board that Crystron's cannot. Or there's SSA Crystron.
So it kind of like just got swapped. I think the swap actually occurred because of the Karakuri themselves.
Exactly. But SSA
So-
Crystron's is going to be important if this Magician Girl deck is rising in popularity, and so is Roids and just backrow decks in general. SSA aspect is really important for that. But yeah, you guys have any other comments about this? RaW, you want to say anything about the meta-analysis?
Yeah, if we see the decks like Karakuri, Shiranui, and Dark Magician, that's the problem right now with the meta. What I don't like, Konami hitting like decks like those I mentioned, even with skills and stuff, but people still trying on playing the deck. The problem is about that the consistency. You just show in hands. If you have a good hand, then you win. If you're a bad hand, then you losing even against player on ladder. So you really can't do nothing. And yeah, that's why I like last year we had like Dark Lord, which was even like skillful, so you even don't care about the mirror and stuff. Right now we have Karakuri, which we see as the best deck as tier 1, but it's like even gambling. If you go like second or you brick, then the tier is not even King of Games worthy. That's like that. That's the meta. I really hope we're getting good deck that is consistent, like before, like Christian or something like that, or like Dark Lords back in the day. But yes, it needs something to change, and this is actually what happened right now. I think to DD, they lose like a lot of fun in the game because they can't do nothing. If they brick, they brick. They can't win, and yes.
Well, that could actually be a very accurate reason to why they have been not on point this season compared to previous seasons. But hopefully, we only have 2 more weeks until the KC Cup, and maybe we'll get a Forbidden Limited list after. Oh,
We need
no,
a
we have
big
3
balls
weeks.
list.
We have 3 weeks. Oh no. Yeah, so I guess you guys have to wait till playoffs probably for that improved meta. Unfortunately.
Actually, I don't
think we don't need ban list, but we need good decks instead.
Yeah, you just need a blip box. I
Yes.
think there will be a box before the next KC Cup, like before stage
What
2.
can they release that they will beat the turn 1 Karakuri board though?
I don't know.
And if they release it, it will be so fucking overpowered that, like, I don't think it will be fun.
Maybe a hand trap.
Oh.
But something like powerful that is just powerful in the right hands, like Dark Lord back in the day, it was powerful, but it was not like toxic. Karakuri is just toxic because you go in first and you just put the cards on the board and you win. It's like Dark Magician. You go first to have the combi, you win.
Yeah, but still, if you release a deck like Dark Lord in the right hands that it's overpowered, you can't play any other deck. In that format, before they released Black Wings and Invoke, you couldn't play anything else.
No, here's the thing.
Like a deck with Necro Valley or Dark Lords.
Yes, but the good thing is, like last year about that time, it was not even Dark Lord. Like the box after and stuff, there came like Ritual Beast and stuff, which can't even competitive against that. Then what we had else? We had like Element Saber was like really strong deck, and that's what I want to have, like really strong decks that like need skills and really just powerful in the right hands, and not like toxic deck like Karakuri that needs to be that skill, go in first and put the field on board and then win. This is for me not that fun.
I mean, one of the decks
best
that they
solution
could
will be a big balls ban list.
Well, here's a deck that could release, Chris, is a if they
or hand traps. That was a nice idea, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean that would be too broken though, long term in the game.
I don't think that will be too broken. Not
well,
I don't mean
long
as
term.
Blossom, but
no, but long term in the game. Oh yeah. Well, Blossom would be too broken, obviously, but like no. What I was thinking was another. I mean, there are several decks in Yu-Gi-Oh that have graveyard effects, and so like for example, if Mermills get support and they get the rank 7, that would just be ridiculous. But if they get the rank 7 Mermill card and they can play the Atlantean card, they can actually deal with the turn 1 board pretty easily, because the cash-in would kind of be useless because they can't negate anything in the graveyard. And I mean, if they switch,
if they give us Atlantean Prince and Dragons, then I guess.
But I kind of hope they give us something that wasn't like broken in the TCG, just because Duel Links is usually a bit
Like
more
if
fresh.
they give us the deck that has a specific interaction to hard counter Karakuri,
yeah, even if
they give us like a deck that can just go first and vomit an even better board than Karakuri, I wouldn't like that.
Well, why is that? I'm just reading what Wise said. I'm not saying that's not it. Like like Chris just said, they would have to give us Dragoons and
the Prince.
Yeah, and the Prince. Like it would have to be a full water box or something like that crazy, which is possible because or a water box is possible because we're getting that water character. Shark is his name, I think. We might not even get. We might not even
I
get
think
the.
it's just at the moment it's just Karakuri setting the standards so high.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Karakuri, we wouldn't have all this kind of problem.
It would be nice, to get a just like a tier 2 or tier 3 deck that can just beat them, like really, really like solidly, like you know, just I think that's what we really need. Maybe not
It's
not even
really
a ban
about the
list.
balance. Like, because if you release something tier 0 like Dark Lords, then we have the same meta that was Dark Lords that are countered by Sealtone Blackwings that are countered by Sabers. And that's not good either, because then every deck brings those 3 decks and you basically do nothing.
Here's the
But
issue. Here's the issue I see, right? There, like whatever you do, Karakuri can just play the Parshath version, like and even if that's worse, it's still gonna be like freaking degenerate. Like let's say a deck with graveyard effects comes out, um, or you know, hand trap or whatever.
Just play Necro Valley.
Then well yeah, oh yeah, you can play Negro Valley, and but like then you can play Parshath, and like Parshath's just gonna negate the hand trap, or you could play Debunk with the counter traps. Like it's ridiculous. Like um, just the nature of the deck is so unhealthy now because
It's
they're
time
forced.
for Maxi, bro.
Maybe.
you know what? I
We
think
get
that
Maxi.
we should be having an option to punish all these synchro decks that just shit out their cards turn 1.
The thing that sucks about Duel Links is that around this time in the TCG when Exceeds were like coming out, there were like a lot of battle traps that were really strong, but not so like you didn't have a meta where it was just like chain, floodgate, like ballista, like these types of interactable back row.
If in the next ban list
And so like
they hit Sira, Karakuri, Chris on Blackwings, we are cool.
I don't know, cause like
And maybe Alistair.
we felt that way about the previous ban list, and like
No, bro. In the previous ban list, we were also begging them to hit Blackwings, and like, how the fuck can Blackwings escape so many ban lists?
no, did people expect Shiranui like to be immediately as
Also,
popular as they have
me
become?
personally, I thought they would hit Merchant to be honest.
Yeah, I thought
because
so too.
I already knew that deck was oppressive as fuck.
Yeah, I wish they did. That was my first reaction, is they had to hit Merchant to
And
2.
also,
But
please at least limit Trunade deck on TTH.
it's kind of ridiculous you can still play Trunade in the deck right now. People,
I mean,
Anyways, I'll
banning
have to
card.
go.
it's getting late there, huh?
I guess.
What were you
Thanks
saying?
for hosting, but sorry that I have to go like this.
No problem, Chris. Thanks for, being active on the
Thank you,
talk.
everyone, and tak facha, bro.
All right, see you, man. All right, sorry. Someone was saying something?
Yeah, what I just want to mention, like, I don't like if we complaining like about one card like Trunade or something like that.
Yeah.
I really want to have like several cards that makes then the difference. Like,
You're right.
for example, Clash. For example, Clash. I know this card is really broken, but for me, like right now, this card in the past was even really skillful because you can use it like in several options and something like that. I wanted to have it like that back because, of course, a card is broken, but that makes the game. If we have just right now complaining about Trunade, then about 2 months later we're talking about another card which is toxic as hell again, and that's what I don't really like. So I
Yeah,
really
you're
have
right.
like really more cards in the game. And when they have it like in TCG, why we should not have it in Duel Links? So give us Ash Blossom, even if it sounds ridiculous. Why should they not? Because there are several cards which is broken in TCG, which we not have. We should at least getting like some broken cards as well.
But don't worry, it'll be in the next selection box.
I go for that.
Yeah, make sure to save up money for that. I feel like the next selection box is probably gonna have something insane. Who knows what it's gonna be, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's something ridiculous. Anyway, we've had a long stream. I think we'll try to wrap things up here. I know we have match predictions on the today's discussion schedule, but we'll integrate that with chat Q&A. So chat, if you have any questions for the 3 remaining individuals on the call right now, please do ask in the chat and ask them anything you want to ask them, and as long as it's appropriate, we'll have them answer it if they do so choose. Other than that, I mean, Hold on. So, Faces, I want to talk to you a little bit about your match this upcoming week. You guys are playing against. You guys playing against?
FM.
Oh, FM. Oh, okay. So, biggest game of the season for so far for you guys. They're 5-0, and you guys are 4-1. Winner probably goes first in the division. Probably. How are you guys feeling about that?
Well, feeling confident because we're always going confident each week and believe in ourselves. But it's gonna be like a super tough one. Like we have to think like a lot about our deck choices and our payers, and like how to counter them like efficiently.
Well, one thing about FM is that they have so many good players on the team. So far this season, they've cycled through at least 9 or 10 of their players, um, which makes it very hard to predict what players they might play. Are you guys focused more so on the decks or their players that they might be playing?
I would say half and half. Because you know, like they have players that can like streak easily, like Zeta, and they have Edu as well.
Yeah,
So like think of decks to like that can like benefit us in that man if we try to predict what they can play.
yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, I wish you and FM the best of luck for this game this week. Hopefully, as I always say, I'm hoping for a really close game. I love the top teams of the season duke it out and to see beautiful high level gameplay. Hopefully, it won't be uh, the BS that we just mentioned earlier about coin flips and whatnot. Because that is always a bit unfortunate. But yeah, I'm hoping for a close game, and wish you and FM the best of luck for that.
Thanks.
All right, Metal. You guys are playing X Factors this week. They're coming off a very close loss to Bricks and Potatoes, and now they are 3-2 or 4-1. They're now 3-2, but with 10 R&D. You guys are 4-1. So if you guys lose, you'll drop down to third place, and if you win, you have the potential of going up first place. If Bricks and Potatoes lose. But you guys have been doing pretty hot this season. Besides that one loss to Bricks and Potatoes, how are you feeling like right now about that?
I think if there is one season that's going to be a Phoenix season, it's this one. Uh, our roster is now more active than it has ever been. Like it's absolutely different than when I first joined 2 seasons ago, where we were struggling to even get enough people to scrim. But now we pretty much have at least several of those each week. I don't know if it's because a lot of our players came back from the long pauses, so they're still fresh about the meta game, even though it's kind of stale for people that have been here. But it does feel nice to have just people willing to put in work. And I think next week is gonna show it if we're actually the top contender that Phoenix was previous seasons, not including the last one.
Yeah, we have a question from Levi San in the chat. How can a team? Okay, so he's asking to, I guess all of us. So if any of you guys have an answer to this question, go ahead. But the question is, how can a team improve consistently in the meta game, and what are your keys for success in Team Wars format from your perspective? Thank you. You guys have any input on that question?
That's not an easy question to answer, but you have to take the risks, in my opinion, because even something that seems insignificant that enters the game might be the real changer. Like a lot of people were sleeping at start of Karakuri era. Like a lot of people saw, it's one trap, it's one card, what's that gonna do? And then they get hit by +4 combo turn one. So you have to practice a lot and you can't be underestimating the new decks. We've also seen people tech in Diamond Dire Wolf in Magician Girls that gave them easy access to Earth if they open double Alistair. So pretty much you have to practice. Even though the meta hasn't changed for a while, you still have to practice the same decks over and over. At least that's what I think.
Well, that's a good answer. Do you guys have any other comments about that, or should we move on to RaW Sun Clan's game?
Yeah, we face Destiny Draw this weekend.
Yes, big game for you
Uh,
guys.
That will be a really good game. I really like to play against those teams. It's like one of my top 5 in the entire team was. So this
Yeah.
is even really nice team to watch. So if I have time, I really even watch the games from Destiny Draw. Yes, last time they brought like the B line up, so it was not the A line up. Even those B line up is like for other teams is totally the A line up. Yes, yeah, we try our best. We have our goals. Like we practice really a lot, and I think that's the key factor of Levy's question is like practice, practice, practice. Then of course like having fun into this game, not complaining about certain decks because otherwise you have the negativity and then you maybe misplay or miss lethal or whatever.
Oh yeah,
And
100%. I just want to take a second. Sorry about that. What you just
yes,
said
no,
is so important. It is probably the most important thing in metas like these when you're especially in teams that have very experienced players that are playing in tournaments all the time, that are involved in multiple team events. The mentality aspect is so important, sometimes more important than their preparation level, because if they have a negative mentality, like you said, they're not going to have success in the games because they might tilt or they might make mistakes because of a negative mentality. So I'm very happy you mentioned that. That's so important.
yes, and what's the other thing is maybe I see this a bit of from diffusion. Is like maybe they're getting satisfied or something like that. That's maybe the curse of the other players except the DD. They after a win, like after winning the championship, the people getting satisfied. They won and they think, okay, now it's done. Now I reached the goal or whatever. But if you see like a Destiny Row, I see it like they're having fun in the game and they really like just to play. They don't care about the prize pool, about the title or something like that. They really want to have the fun into this game and stuff. And this is the right mentality. If you go like that and have the practice and stuff and all the combination with this, you will always have success in this game. So yes, if it's
You-
not working by the next game, then it's working the after game or something like that, and that's it.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said, Raw. We have a question from Xerix. He says, "How do you guys feel about repeats in Team Wars right now? Do you think we need to have more repeats, or is the number of should we have more repeats because there's a lot of coin flips, or is 2 a good number? What do you guys say to that? We could start with you, Raw.
The repeats, I really like the 2 repeats, and not more because then maybe it would be abusable, and then you could even take risk more, and that's what I don't like. Then maybe players like Dragonity we see as more, but I don't like 2 is a perfect number because you have a strategy. Like the first player needs to go at least 2 and 2 because then you like they need to counter you. That means like if you counter them again, then you like 10 and 9 at the end. So it's at the strategic. If something went wrong, maybe because you DC or have a break hand or something like that, then you could use the repeat and go back to where you started. And that's what I like. Just 2 and 3 or more, it would be just abusable.
Yeah, well said. Metal, do you have any comments about that question that Xerix asked?
I'm actually kind of disappointed that repeats are used like pretty much a restart nowadays. Like, you don't use it. Previously, it was, I don't really have good matchup with my other deck, or I have to play this again. Now it's, I bricked, so I have to play the deck again. So
Yeah.
it's kind of, more of it would just, as Ro mentioned, further the problem where you pretty much don't have to care. You just go YOLO and If it doesn't work, we might as well try again. It feels like there is no risk, but reward is too high for that playstyle. And that's what I don't like. It kinda removes the point of repeat for me personally.
Well, the original implementation of the repeat rule was done so that people would not, so people, if they bricked with their counter decks, they could repeat again. For example, a good example in the past days was if you sent E-Sabers into Blackwings, and the E-Sabers bricked, or you went first, and you got sacked by a true nade, a true nade hand with Blackwings. This was way long ago, but then the repeat rule was really good for that. If you had a brick or you got sacked, but yeah, like you said, nowadays it's kind of like, I think it sucks because it's the way that Konami has hit the deck. But nowadays, if you brick with Karakuri, you just repeat and you can win 4 in a row off of that, and that hasn't been the healthiest thing. I think that would be the perfect argument that we should not have any more repeats because of that. But how I feel about it, I mean, given what we saw, you have a very good point about that, both of you,
Yeah,
Raw and
pretty
Metal.
much rewards the RNG based play rather than actual using it as intended.
Exactly. Fake Six, do you have?
Also,
Oh yeah, go ahead, Metal.
I wanted to mention this, but playing Karakuri feels like, well, I mean, bringing Karakuri feels like playing a Russian roulette. You're gonna have 5 amazing hands, but then the 6th one is just gonna be pretty much the loss.
Yeah,
So I really don't think any more repeats should be added.
Fake Six, do you have any contributions to this question topic?
I mean, I just agree with what Ross said. How like I think's fine it's 2, and with metal as well. How it's used as a repeat if like a deck breaks, and like how it's not like, oh, my deck doesn't have a good matchup against that. It's just used as like a repeat itself, like a restart.
Yeah, you said you agree, just to make.
Yeah, agree.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think most people that you would ask would probably agree. Like, I think it makes sense from the other argument side that, like, yeah, you need more repeats to beat Karakuri, but then at the same time, if you have more repeats, then Karakuri has more potential to, like, the 6 to 8 Karakuri strategy. Well, I guess the 6 Karakuri strategy that some teams have done, or 7 Karakuri, maybe even, it would be rewarded more potentially because of uh, the repeat factor. But well said by all of you. We'll take one more question from the chat if there are any questions, and then we'll start wrapping up here. So if you guys have any questions, please do ask. But while we do wait for a question, I want to thank Fake Six, Metal Overdrive, Raw, Chris, Hideki, man, I'm forgetting, Cairo, also known as people also know him as Kernow King, Buster GG, and Luxa, for all being on this Team Wars talk with us today. We've had more participants today than ever. Let us know in the chat whether you prefer more participants or less participants. We also didn't have a chance to go through the VODs of the games because we had more participants today. So let us know what you think is better, whether VOD analysis is good with less participants or more participants and interviews is better. Uh, but Ra, I think you had something you wanted to say.
No, just maybe if for the teams or something like that, what I really like, for example, this week, for example, Mastercard was playing and had a good record this week. I even want to say thank you because I trusted him even to play, even if he's kind of free to play, but even if you trust a player because he makes testing, he makes good thing in the testing and stuff. And he not even like the way he was like free to play. He got right before he got his 7th slot, and he only played with 2 Trio. But he plays and like the game and stuff. Just trust the player, and yes, this is will gives him really makes him comfortable, and yes, that makes really good effort for the team, and yes.
Well said. That's also a very important factor for teams, is trusting your teammate regardless of what their resources are. If they're playing, you have to trust them because they're in a position and you want them to win, you want them to do well. But yeah, it looks like we have no more questions Oh, okay. I guess
I
we do
also would
have.
argue that it's more important to have people with decks they're familiar with rather than decks that are met.
And Buster GG was talking about that earlier too. He said some of the mistakes he made maybe in previous seasons was focusing a bit too much on strategy and making players play decks they weren't comfortable with. This season, they've told players to play whatever decks they feel extremely comfortable with, and they're now 4-1. So it's paid off for them. They've had minimal misplays, and they've done really well. Full team participation. Also, what's up, -1? So the final question by Xerix before we leave. I guess none of you guys are playing Fantasy League. Maybe Fake Six you are, but they're asking for feedback regarding Fantasy League. Those in the chat and any of you three, if you are participating in Fantasy League, please do give us feedback. We want to do this long term for Team Wars. It seems like a very enjoyable thing for most people, for almost everyone that's been playing it. So please do give us feedback. And if you haven't played in Fantasy League yet, then I mean, what are you doing? Fantasy League, you can still enter, and yeah, you can still enter. And the big thing about Fantasy League now is that starting next week, or rather starting this week, uh, even if you're behind, if you get the most amount of points in a single week, you get a free Team Wars sub that you can gift to anyone or use on yourself. The only requirement to enter in Fantasy League is that you have to be subscribed to Team Wars. This is this channel right here, and if you don't want to subscribe for Fantasy League, you can subscribe for ad-free viewing and also the sub emotes that we have, which Xerix can post in the chat. Levi's asking when my next individual stream is. It's probably going to be Thursday night. Twitch.tv/haha if you guys want to check me out. I do my own personal analysis. Like today we saw most of the analysis being done by the players on the call, but I'll do my own personal analysis of games and my own personal predictions, including scores. I did that last week, and I'm going to start doing that every week now. If someone can post my Twitch link in the chat as well, that would be great. Give me a follow. Yeah, we're looking to update Team Wars emotes. We've just been a bit slow with that, so please do bear with us. We're looking to update at least 3 of the emotes, add 3 new emotes. So please do support us. The money is mainly right nowadays going into Fantasy League, and part of it is going to Team Wars referees. Thank you, Xerix, for linking my stream. But thanks again, Fake Six, Metal, and RaW for sticking till the end. This was a really enjoyable experience, and I'm very glad that you guys were able to, stick with us near the end and contribute so much.
Well, I couldn't really refuse the invitation. It was given to me personally by Zarex, and everybody knows that Zarex is my ninja, so it is what it is.
So I want to give you guys the opportunity to shout out anything, whether it's your Twitch, your Twitter, your whatever. Fake Six, you want to shout out anything? Or your team?
Just shout out LT and Zen, and Zen's Twitch, twitch.tv/ZenWow.
Yeah, if Xerix, you could post that as well, that would be great. Metal, you have any shout outs?
Well, my team is mostly boring and nobody streams, so I also want to shout out ZenWow.
Any other shout outs for you, Metal?
Well, I'll say that for when I start streaming, so I get shouted out twice.
Okay. All right, RaW, any shout outs for you?
Yeah, just shout out to Drizzle because he pinged me 20 times, I think, because maybe for a scrim, because he hasn't not that many people. I will answer you in a message, Drizzle. So
Yeah. Also, I guess I'll do an extra shout out as well. If you guys want to follow my Twitter, that's the best way to know when I'll be going live on my Twitch channel for Team Wars analysis. It's TahaDL. You can follow me on Twitter, and sometimes I'll tweet about the my meta opinions as well. But lately, I've just been streaming it all instead. But if you care about that stuff, then you can follow me there. Other than that, thank you again, guys. And if you have a spare $5 or a free Prime subscription, consider subscribing to Team Wars. As I said,
can I actually give
go
a
ahead.
shout out to Momo? because he invited me to cast a few times, and I actually only casted with him once.
Oh yeah, we love Mumu here at Team Wars, so shout out to Mumu for
Yeah, somebody has to,
doing all he does from the streaming end. He's always jumping on to stream as many games as he can. Very nice of him to do that. He hosts tournaments every week, so be sure to check out Mumu. Anyways, I don't want to do a forced advertisement. You guys can't skip all these advertisements with ad blocks. But thank you again. Let's just start wrapping this up. Or I mean, we already did start wrapping up. Let's just end it. Thank you everyone for watching. We'll be back next week, Tuesday, 1 p.m. EST. We might have a new host. I may not be the host for next week, so just will be a change of pace. But we'll still have a lot of people interviewing, and let us know if you have any feedback about Team Wars talks. Tell us in general chat of Team Wars or questions or suggestions. Either channel works. Thank you everyone. Thank you, RaW, Metal Overdrive, and Fake Six, and the other 5 members that were interviewing with us. Everyone have a good afternoon and a good night, and looking forward to the Team Wars games this week.
Thanks for having us over.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good evening and afternoon, everyone. See you later.
Wow, this is an excellent display here from Rashi. Very good job.
So it's chain unending. Oh, unending gonna pop notification.
Wait, what? You ever seen a chain that big, Rambo?
Arcanine Magician.
Okay, I haven't seen this one in a while. Ooh la la, baguette.